Peace, everyone. Peace for everyone who's here and for everyone who's coming in. This is, of course, Chief Yuya. Let me bring the chat up or something. Okay, peace, Renata. So, we got to do that thing. If y'all can hear me, please press the number one. All right. So, and I know I'm gonna get five number ones, but somebody give me a number one if you can hear me. Peace, Baba Curry. Okay, good. We got our number one. All right, good. Peace, everyone. Oh wow, we got up to 20 quick. All right, y'all are real punctual this evening. Well, thank you for the number ones, Tanya Antoinette Robinson, I think it says. But willfully, I'll be very brief. I wanted to really just kind of catch some of you up because I know sometimes in terms of listening to segments and things like that, some of you are like maybe 30 days behind. Peace, Anwar. And thank you for sharing as well, Anwar. I saw that post. But I know some of you, you're on your own schedule in terms of listening and tuning in to the segments and the insights and things like that. So, peace, Nakia. So I just wanted to share with you in terms of what's going on with our new men and our new women, right? So, or even share with you what that is, because some of you may not even be familiar if you haven't been really plugged in like some of the other ones, right? So, uh, when I dissolved Chief Speaks in December of 2017, one of the things that I said was that I wanted to take the time to focus a bit more on some of the work that I was doing with actual Anu members and kind of put more of my focus there as opposed to just the wide spray or the wide netting of so many people. So with that said, we put our focus more towards Anu men and Anu women. And I put a call out recently in terms of peace, Sister Jennifer, in terms of applying with our new women and going through that process. And of course, we've had some women come through, and they applied, and they were brought in, and they started their process already. And we have a great group of women, and we already had a situation going with the men in terms of a group call, so forth and so on. So with that, I just kind of wanted to tighten up and organize what the men were doing a little bit more. Not that it's not organized, but kind of make it so that it's a better and more sensible complement for what the women are doing. All right. So I wanted to just put a quick informational out because I don't think I've ever just taken time just to speak about the Anu men and the Anu women and the reason why. Okay, so for those of you who are tuning in because you want to break down on something, that's not what I'm going to do right now. This is for people who are interested in being a part of what we're doing, who are interested in some camaraderie and some building and some networking and interfacing with people who are striving towards similar ambitions as the ones that I outlined, all right, and the ones that you find in the 14 keys, all right. So with that said, we have Anu men, we have Anu women. I just want to briefly address why there's an Anu men and Anu women, and where that really comes from. So in terms of working with men, I've been doing that, I don't know, over 20 years. It's been a very long time. At this point, counting years is just kind of boring. But it's been over 20 years since I've been running different Jegna programs, different manhood programs, boys to men style programs in terms of rites of passage and things like that. So that's been a long time and you know almost lifetime work. Not that I'm 20 years old, but you get what I'm saying. So that idea of pulling people from where they are to where they want to be, benchmarking, identifying maybe some relative goals that one should have, because some people don't really know the basics of where they should be or where they could be for their age or for their amount of time that they've experienced in something. So rites of passage has always been a very huge thing in terms of the work that I've done, in addition to spiritual work and you know all the other stuff, right? So one of the pieces in terms of the necessity, I'm going to start with the men and I'm going to go to the women. Uh, a lot of times, especially in Western culture, men can be so bombarded by perverse ideas and the 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 hyper modes of self-esteem destruction that this society presents to them, that sometimes they start to question their own sanity until they're able to get around other men and say, you know, am I crazy, or does this make sense, or so forth and so on. So a lot of times the men, they kind of tend to pull on me for that type of experience, or desire to pull from me for that type of experience. And in all honesty and all truthfulness, I'm just not, peace, Obadiah, I'm just not nearly as accessible as some would like me to be. Now, why am I not nearly as accessible as some would like me to be? Because I'm busy doing chief stuff. Plain and simple. I'm busy doing chief stuff. Okay? So that means that sometimes I'm there, sometimes I'm not there. I'm doing things behind the scenes, I'm doing things on the scene, I'm doing things before the scene is even created. All right, but I'm moving and I'm all over. And a lot of times what men need is not necessarily confirmation or validation from me, but just from their brothers, from other men. You know, one of the important things in terms of even thinking about what an Anu man is, an Anu man is one who's ready and prepared to Jegna, you know, meaning ready and prepared to not only sacrifice aspects of themselves for the community that they hold dear, but also one who's ready to cover, one who's ready to teach, one who's ready to guide, one who's ready to offer relative and clean and pure knowledge. You know, there's so many different aspects, of course, to manhood. So uh, oftentimes I have some of the most profound and interesting and enjoyable conversations with men, right? But it may be one man over here, and then I'll speak to another man over here, and they'll have similar kind of questions. So I'll say, you know what? I need to put you in touch with brother so and so. We were just talking about this, and some of you know what I'm talking about. I've done that with you, and linked this one up with that one, and that one up with that one, and that one up with that one. But I'm not a matchmaker, right? So that can only happen but so efficiently until we say, okay, you know what? We just need to have a formalized group where the ideas can be shared, disseminated, dissected, broken in half, broken apart, and most importantly, applied. And that's to create a more a more sane collective of men for a sane collective of women. All right, we're designed to be together. So, as I'm sharing some information just in terms of our new men and our new women, um, I can promise you'll also get some information just in terms of our new philosophy, our new calculation. Um, the Anu system is a family based system, so you're not going to get much advocacy from me in terms of hermit living or even celibacy or just the lone wolf mentality. It's all inside of me. I don't need anybody else. We don't do that, okay? And I'm not downing that way of being or that way of thinking, but that's just not what this is, okay? So we're focused primarily on the tenets and the values that have been handed to us by deep thought elders who have showed us how to nation build, who have showed us how to community rear, and who have shown us the proper models for family design. Okay, now if you put that in reverse order, then that creates that nationhood that we all speak about so much. And I do understand that many of you are not necessarily interested in building a community. You're not necessarily interested in nationhood. And I understand that. That's fine. Everybody comes for their own reasons. So That's why we created a separate process. Yeah, you have the podcast, and you have the classes, and you have the videos, the YouTube videos, and the lectures, and all of the other stuff that is accessible to anyone and everyone. But then for those of you who say, you know what, I really like this way of thinking, I like this way of being, I like this way of living, I want to integrate this into my life, not just really look at it, observe it, and pick and pull, but really make it an integrative experience. That's where we have the men's and the women's ministry. All right. And like I said, when I brought down Chief Speaks, that's where my focus was going to be, those who are actually more interested in doing the work. Because at this day and time, that's what's needed. Plain and simple. We can sit from the sidelines and observe for the next, well, if we have it, but for the next 100 years. But we'll be sitting and constantly commenting on our demise, constantly commenting and whining on our decline. And for me as a man, I don't whine, I don't complain, I problem solve. So the solution to the problem is coming together, working together, building together, and more importantly, becoming self-aware. So the Anu Men's Ministry and the Anu Women's Ministry is about self-awareness and primarily about reformation and self-awareness. Now, why is self-awareness so necessary? Because just like if you were to go to, let's say as a man, I wear a size 54 suit, 54 long. I would look insane if I went to the tailor and I pulled a 44 short off the rack and said, "Yeah, I want to buy this suit," right? So if I'm not aware of who I am and what I am and my own personal awareness, then I'm not aware of what works and fits for me. So that even comes in terms of your mating. One of the first steps in mating is not a honey ritual to Oshun, or not going to your ancestors, or putting on something that you feel makes you look more attractive. The first step to proper mating is self-awareness, because if you're not aware, then of yourself, then you're not aware of what complements yourself and helps you to discover yourself. Even us as deity and light and wrapped in flesh, what we are is a creator source energy's attempt to understand itself further and to define itself further. So, in order for it to do that, it had to create a complement to itself so that it could become even more aware. So, the complement to the spirit is the flesh, right? So, even when we're talking about the relationships between men and women, we have to first understand who we are as men. Peace, Shaga. And we have to also understand who you are, or you have to understand who you are as women, right? So self awareness is the key. So a lot of what we work with and work through in terms of our new women and our new men are modalities of refining that sense of self awareness. And when I speak about reformation, right? One of the key things there with the reformation is an acknowledgement first that many of us have been malformed. If we've not come up in our own root culture, if we've not come up within a structure and on top of a launch pad that has educated us or pulled the jinn or pulled the genie or the genius out of us in a deliberate fashion, then it's quite possible that we have come forward misshapen and malformed based on what our original design was supposed to be. A simple way to look at that is, again, coming from the source or coming from the beginning, there was androgyny. There was a oneness. There wasn't this segregation between male and female. But the further we go away from the source, the more that segregative process happens. So now, what happens if you come into your age of reason, your age of knowing, where you're now coming back up that ladder of your kundalini, you know, ready to be now manifest yourself as deity once again. But now I'm trying to manifest myself as deity, but the other part of my deityhood is not present, or I do not know how to connect with my other part of deityhood. You see, so in a simple sense like that, that's why I say this is not really a hermit system. Um, to make it very clear, there is no, you will not get any level of advocacy here for state sanctioned marriage. That's not what we're about at all. The way we commit and the way we join the union is sacred to our own culture, and to bring in a third party to get their certification and their validation undermines the entire aspiration of becoming free. All right, so so I'm not really speaking about that type of joining in union when I'm speaking about relationship, right? So, and again, I'm still speaking about the men primarily, right? Self awareness, because how can you begin to establish structure? How can you begin to establish order? Or to even answer questions, if you're not aware of yourself? Then you come into an environment and you start causing all kind of havoc and all kind of melee because you're not aware. It's just like if I don't know the size of my shoulders and I'm thinking I end here, but I end out here, then I'm going to be bumping into people all the time. And if I'm unwilling to be aware of myself, then once I hit someone, I'm going to, well, that wasn't me because my shoulder's there, you see? So that self awareness is key. Self awareness is key. Reformation is key. Reformation, meaning what? Source, light, coming from Ra. Form, reform. So to go back to the source form, to go back to your original form, what the light dictates you to be. Now, what is the light? The light is Ein Sof, or the soul, as you may know it. So it's reforming yourself or refining yourself back into the shape of what the soul has dictated. Okay, just giving it to you in a real simple way. Willfully, it's simple, you know, and so yeah, that key in terms of the men is important. Now, why is there an Anu womb? Right? Why do we have an Anu womb? Now, some of the sisters who are in the Anu womb, which like Sister Jennifer is one of them, and Renata is another one. I think she was the first one on. But and I'm sure there's some other Anu womb women in here. Um, they've gotten already some information and instruction as to why. So I'm speaking to them, but also more so to the ones who are considering and wondering what the heck it is. Because I have had people say like, "Oh, I didn't know you had some type of group," or or people have asked like, "Where can I link up with other people who are sharing information like you share?" "Oh, why don't you join the ministries?" What ministry? So that's why I'm doing this video to kind of you know let people know what's happening. And I see what you wrote there, Visha. You said I sent my application in last week. Okay, we're still reviewing, and I'll get to that later as far as like the actual process. Um, and everyone should understand the application is just that. It doesn't necessarily. It's not a. Everyone's approved. This is not a club where it's like, come on, everybody, we got a place for everybody, because the reality is the vibration that we're emitting and that we're a part of is not necessarily for everyone. I'm not the leader of anything, but I am the coordinator, and I do sit at the hub of Anu. And understand that any organization, any movement is always going to take on the spirit of its leadership or the spirit of its chieftaincy or the spirit of its coordinator. Okay, so what that essentially means is that you'll find that your leadership or your coordinators or your pastor or whomever it is, the spirit that they have will begin to disseminate itself and kind of shower the members of their unions or the members of their organization, and at the same time, their spirit will attract like spirit. Okay, so just like not everyone is like me, that means not everyone is necessarily going to fit inside of this experience and inside of this arrangement that we call Anu. And that's not a strike on anyone. Just like I probably personally wouldn't do very well in the Catholic Church, right? I probably wouldn't do very well as a minister inside of the Catholic Church because it just really wouldn't be a great fit based on my vibration and based on their frequency. It's not a knock against me, it's not a knock against them, but there's a place and there's a frequency for everyone. Okay? So again, like I was saying in terms of the Anu womb, right? Or the Anu woman. The Anu womb is so critical because, as I've said so many times, women are communal beings. That communing and that connecting with one another and opportunities for them to, for those of you who do have birth certificates, you know, um, it it's critical that you always remember that mommy, sister, daughter, you know, priestess, whatever it is not on your birth certificate, right? So these are roles and identities we take on, usually by choice, you know. And what's so critical a lot of times for women is to be able to get into an environment together where just for a moment they can they can forget the roles, they can forget the titles, you know, and they can be that water energy and just kind of connect. You know, like I speak about when I said something recently about water molecules and shared, you know, um, very unlike a lot of elements in that if you know water molecules naturally cling to one another, they pull at each other. You know, that's why you have what's called water droplets. It doesn't, when water comes, it just doesn't always disperse like that. It seeks to try to pull itself together. And women being that watery element, you know, uh, it's really important that they have space, opportunity, and experience where they can have healthy bonding experiences, right? But the other piece is, and let's be very direct about it, you know, we do live in a time where there is a deficiency of quality womanhood in order to connect with a needed quality manhood. So there's a deficiency in quality manhood and a deficiency in quality womanhood. So as men also need to be prepared and trained for warriorhood, trained for Asaphohood. You know, Asapho, you know, just means warrior people, Asapho, you know, but having that sense of being able to function in your role responsibly, and responsibly is response with ability, right? The same thing is required for the women, and a lot of our women are without covering, without headship. Now, what is headship and covering? A man. They don't have guidance, they don't have leadership in their lives, and as a result, all of their beautiful talent and all of their amazing power, it's just going to waste. In all honesty, they're moving through life without direction. They don't know where to go, if I should go left, if I should go right. Things are not working for them, so forth and so on. And it's because they lack structure. You know, they lack guidance, lack self-awareness, and most importantly, like I said again, they lack opportunities to reform, you know, to go back to original shape, to go back to original form. So these experiences provide an opportunity, and the numbers are dropping. I knew as soon as I started talking about that, we were going to lose some people. But like I said, this isn't for everyone, and I don't want everyone. But in any case, so yeah, you know, we're learning how to be men once again. You know, we're learning how to be men, and our women need to learn how to be women once again. You know, Charlotte, we're not talking about classes right now, okay? But you can send a. I don't handle the email, so I'm not going to look for an email, Miss Charlotte. I saw a flash real quick. But if you're having issues with classes, you can email Ndezi at seduluhouse.com. That's Ndezi at seduluhouse.com. Ndezi at seduluhouse.com. Ndezi at seduluhouse. That's my customer service. I don't see the emails. I don't know. I don't know nothing. All right. So I don't want you to say, "Oh, I put it in Chiefs Live and no one got back to me," because I don't handle that. All right. I make the classes. I put the information there, but Anu is actually an engine. It's not just me. I'm not the man behind the curtain, pulling all the ropes, you know, or pretending like it's no. There's actually a lot of people back, you know, behind the scenes that make things happen and make things go forward. All right. So that's where you would get customer service support for a class you're trying to sign up for, or anything like that. All right. So, and I'm saying it out loud, not to make an example or anything, because for anybody else listening who might need that information. All right. So just so you know. All right. So, yeah. So I was speaking in terms of you're more than welcome, Miss Charlotte Gibb or Grillo. Charlotte Grillo. I'm sorry, my screen is a little dope. Um, you know, so So, in terms of really connecting with that womb energy, it's time for some serious instruction for our women. You know, our women are the resource. Resource. Let's break it down again. Read what? Source, light. Source. Going back to the source of the light, or the beginning, to go behind. So where does light come out of? Light comes out of darkness. That's the feminine element. So um, sometimes you'll pull a bucket out of the well, and you got to look what's in that pail, and what's in that pail, maybe it may not be something that you can drink. So you have to, refine the well. You can't just keep pulling from it without looking at what's there. So we have to protect our resources, right? And we have to refine our resources. So there's a refinement process, there's a reformation process, and in terms of men, I'm going back and forth now between Anu men, Anu women. Um, Defending and deflecting is one of our primary responsibilities as men, and that deflecting aspect is, I'll give you a great example. There's been times I've walked down the streets with my family, and someone was coming the other way, and I just didn't like how close they were, and they didn't look like they wanted to move like they were supposed to move. So I just hit them with an arm. No, come on, get out the way. You see us. Like, don't think you're gonna. That's one of the purposes of clothing. That's one of the purposes of, even in some systems and some ideologies, the women covering. It's not to oppress her per se, but it's so that no other man can just touch her. Because she's a guarded and sacred resource. You see, so sometimes we have to do that physically. We have to see something when it's coming to our homestead, coming to our families, and we have to know how to deflect it. And one of the things that you have to learn, for those of you who don't, or are still learning, is what are the things that are coming. Sometimes there are things that are coming that are harmful, and you don't even realize it's harmful, because the culture that you're currently living doesn't necessarily highlight those things, or the culture that you're currently living um, is the problem, is the thing that needs to be deflected, right? So one of the primary responsibilities of men is deflection, and that deflection begins here. In the food, in the mental food that you give to the woman, which is one of the things you learn in Anu men. And for Anu women, your primary strength and responsibility is reception. We covered that recently. For those of you who are also subscribed to the Eurisha channel, I went through that was March, February. No, we're in March, February. I did a series of just different lessons and things like that in the dawning, and I did, I think, two stories. I also shared 2 or 3 stories, something like that. Um, but we kind of spoke about that a bit, in terms of the Obatala Odu story, and Odu not necessarily feeling comfortable being a receptor. And sometimes that's the confusion. If you're not taught your culture in a way that's healthy, in a way that's loving, you don't know what you're supposed to do. So as a man, you may be too passive. As a woman, you may be too active, and you're throwing the universe out of balance. And what happens now is that deities can't meet each other, because they vibrate where the vibration should be nice like this. It's and there's nowhere to lock in. You see, there's nowhere to connect and lock in. So one of the important things, again, for women and women who are in Anu, is learning receptivity, the power of being a receptacle, right? Because it is we all come through the wisdom of a woman. There's no getting around this. And let me make something clear. Anu is a patriarchal order. So let me see if the numbers drop now. We're patriarchal. Okay? So what that means is that the man is at the head. The man is at the head. The man is at the head. Let's see what happens. Okay? What? So, with that, her power is receiving direction, receiving light, receiving guidance, maintaining it, sculpting it, and then redistributing it, because she's a multiplier. You see? So, one of the things that the Anu women learn a lot of times is receiving information about themselves. What is it about me that's maybe creating some blockages? What is it about me that's creating some, some challenges in my own path and in my own walk, can I receive that information? Because that's the power. No man comes into greatness without going through the water first. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. We got to go through the water. Every man's first enlightener is a woman. Just mark me on that. Every man's first enlightener is a woman. Now, I'm not talking about your mama. I'm not talking about your grandmama. And it could have been your mama or your grandmama. But I'm telling you, we are living out the Lion King mythology. We are living out the Osirian drama. And if you look at these stories, it is the woman that brings the wisdom because she is wisdom personified. You are knowledge personified. You see, so when we're looking for that imo oye igbon knowledge, wisdom, understanding, we each hold a different part of that puzzle, right? So we come right back through that water, and then we come to a place of enlightenment. And it goes much deeper than that, but we're not here talking about that stuff right now, right? But I'm just highlighting that to share the importance of the woman being in proper place, the woman being her waters moving in a way that waters are supposed to move, so she's not stagnant, you know. Yeah, so she's not stagnating, and she's moving in proper order and in proper form. So, and again, I will reiterate that this is our new calculation. Now you may say, but over here we practice this, over here we do that. Different things for different folks, right? So, for instance, we teach women how to magnetize. There's a lot of women who do not have mates in their life. They do not have men. They do not have headship. They do not have covering. And what they're doing is just sitting around waiting, putting on something cute and waiting for someone to show up, but not understanding that I'm electric and you're magnetic. So whatever it is that you want, you have to magnetize and stick yourself to it. Now, does that mean I'm going to come into your life? No. You wouldn't want me in your life. I'm too big to be in your life. I would explode your universe apart and probably kill you. You have to come into my orbit. But it's your power and your ability of magnetism, peace, Madam Art, that keeps you in orbit. You see? So how do you learn how to develop your magnetism? How do you learn how to develop your place in the universe? How do you learn how to really research and refine yourself and search yourself to understand these things? Well, that's what it's about. It's not just about um, learning a lot of things that maybe you don't need. I've made it clear in the past that I'm not a huge advocate of men and women learning together because the truth is we need different things. That's just the stone hardcore truth about it. We need different things. As a man, I need something different than you do as a woman, and vice versa. As a melanin rich man, I need something different than a man who's not melanin rich. And there's nothing wrong with that diversity. In fact, that's the beauty of this whole thing. That keeps everything in motion. So our new womb is a critical piece because without the woman refining her water, our wisdom is done. Our wisdom is done. You got to understand something really important, and I'm going to give you, one thing for you to understand about our new is that we are an amalgamation of the best concepts of many different thought processes. Okay, so what that means is sometimes, yeah, you will hear me speak Yoruba. Sometimes you will hear me speak Hebrew. Sometimes you'll hear me speak in Zulu. Sometimes you'll hear me speak, different languages and Latin and Greek and break different things down because I've gone through the work of researching, pulling, observing, initiating in different systems to discover what works well. And I'll give you a clue, not a clue, but I'll give you something even from uh, the structure of the Israelite. When you speak about the value of that wisdom or that water, consider that in the process of an Israelite or what some would call a Hebrew marriage, the woman circles the man 7 times. You see, so we speak about the man being headship, But we sometimes don't realize it's the woman who actually enshrouds you. You know, you can even look at some of the ancient depictions in the statues of Osir and Osset, and you will see her with her arms completely around him like this, like she's holding him, you know, and that's symbolic of how the woman enshrouds the man. You see, so it's not just that he takes the head, he takes the lead, she goes in the back, and he's barking orders, left, right, starboard, release the sails, release the kraken. He's not just doing that, and she's running around and doing all of these different things, but she's actually protecting him in a different way because she's wrapped herself completely around him. He's protecting her in a different way because he's charged in front of her to take the hit first. You see? So it's critical to understand that we each have different roles. We each help one another in a different way. And our instruction has to be provided in a different way in order for us to actually heal this rift that is not only between us, but heal this hole that has been driven and for a lot of us in the center of our very being, you know. So the Anu womb is very critical in that sense. And like I said, and I'm sharing information on Anu womb, I'm sharing information on Anu men, but also just the thought calculation of Anu itself. Anu is not a religion. Okay, we're not a religion. Um, we're not I could just go down a list of what we're not. I'm not the supreme leader, the chief potentate, and you are all disciples. It's nothing like that. Um, I knew the way I designed it when I first designed it was so that it was very scalable, and meaning that it had so much room for growth and so much room for input and so much room for even extraction. And in all honesty, I got a lot of that way of thinking when I was going through my experience with voodoo and initiating in voodoo. Because I found that assimilation was so prevalent in voodoo, and I was very impressed by that. And I said, if I can ever use that one day, I will use that. Just that thought of adaptation and learning how to assimilate different things. So that's why you have so much assimilation in Anu. But what it allows for is a very dynamic experience. Many of you have heard me speak about the static reality of hell. Hell is can't hear the truth, can't see the truth, can't understand the truth. Triple darkness, deaf, dumb, and blind to the truth. What is the truth? Actualized energy. It's energy in its true form and actualized source. So, when I'm unable to comprehend or see or hear that energy, I'm frozen in my ways and actions. This is the science of Medusa. The whole science of Medusa was she would stare at you and you would lose your ability to transform because we're all on the planet to transform. That's what we're here. We're here to change, to go through different experiences and to live this dynamic experience. And the worst thing in the world, like that feeling that sometimes you feel when you waste time. When you say, man, I've been doing this and I've been stuck for the last 3 years, stuck for the last 4 years, been doing the same thing that I didn't even want to do. And you know how horrible that feeling is. I can't get that back because you're feeling that sense of being static, of being stuck, right? So when we're dealing with Anu, it's a dynamic experience that creates a lot of room for growth. That's what I've designed, and I didn't design it in a way where inclusion has to be lifetime. I'm not necessarily concerned about that. Um, People come and go. I'm cool with that. Um, it serves a purpose. There's people who come and go, and there's people who don't come and go, and there's people who say, "No, I want to be here. I like this. I want to build this, and I want to further this." And there's a place for both kind. Some people are nomads. And some people are settlers. So and there's honor in both of those ways of being, right? So again, the value of Anu womb and the value of Anu man, there's a strong metaphysical value, as I just expressed, and there's also a strong emotional, spiritual, and even physical support. Some of the things that you heard me say in the past, in terms of even our women, And when I say our women, I don't mean every woman who looks like me. All right. I'm talking about women who are submissive to this plan. Let's see, the numbers change. Because I said submissive. Let's see. What? Clutch the pearls. So, women who are submissive to this plan. What is this plan? The plan is a mission. Submission means to come under the mission, right? Now that's easy. That's easy to say. It's easy to express. But then when you go to your man and say, okay, what's the plan? What's the mission? I'm still trying to figure it out. Then you got a problem. So with our new men, we design and we create men where that's not the case. And I want you to really focus on that word design for a moment, especially as it comes to our mating. A lot of times I get the question from different people, members, clients, so forth and so on. And they say a lot of times, like, Chief, do you believe in soulmates? Right? Or twin flames. I get that one a lot. It's the same thing, but it's just another hippier way of saying it. Do you believe in twin flames? Do you believe in soulmates? And I say yes, but it's not what you think it is. In terms of how I see it. First of all, I don't believe in anything. Belief is for children, and I'm not a child anymore. I'm not a small child anymore. I'm somebody's child. But I know that there are people that we travel with that assist us on our journey, and sometimes in the most heinous of ways. It could be that person who gave you your first black eye, that bully who picked on you. That could be your soulmate. It could be that person who you were in a relationship with and they slept with your best friend. That could be your soulmate. It's that person who created those pivotal, transcendental moments where your soul ripped open, and you looked at it and was like, "Whoa, oh, that's what's in there." But I never would have had that opportunity if I didn't have this much pain. Sometimes it's through the pain, sometimes it's through the joy. It comes in many different ways. But I want to go back to what I was saying. It's not just about finding a soulmate. What I advocate is designing a soulmate, right? Uh, I advocate that soulmates are found. They're not, I mean, that they're designed. They're not found. You have to design them. Because even if you read the Quran, yes, sometimes you'll hear me quote from the Quran, you'll hear me quote from the Bible. This is our new thought, right? We understand that when Allah came into being, that one of the things that Allah did first, the first thing that Allah did was He studied Himself, right? Now, you just think about that for a second. We're hearing a story about the Supreme Creator, right? And through someone's depiction, right? Through someone's depiction. But we can use these, we can learn a lot from these stories. Um, we learn about the creation of the Supreme Being, and the Supreme Being brings itself into being, but still has to study itself, right? So when you meet someone, this is why we have a courtship in Anu. Because no matter how divine or how sacred or how beautiful you feel that experience is, there still has to be a study. There still has to be, like we say, courtship, right? In court, if any of you have ever been to court, and I mean beyond a traffic ticket or whatever, sometimes you may file a motion for a discovery to be released. The discovery is all the information that's pertaining to the case, right? So in a courtship, I want the discovery. So even the Supreme Being, when it came forth, had to go through a process of studying itself. You see? So soulmates are designed, and how they're designed first primarily is through our sense of self-awareness. When we become aware of ourselves, then we become aware of the complements that work for ourselves. You see? So that's the key there. It's not just this fuzzy, touchy feely thing. And even in terms of this work, that's why I knew it was such a critical experience for me, I will say. And for some, and I'm sure there's people in the chat who can provide their own testimony in terms of what this journey has been for them, and what this journey has kind of opened their eyes to. And people, they tell me, but I'm not really gonna. And so brother so and so told me he don't even masturbate anymore. He respect the God. That's their business to share. But so I'm just saying that the experience is about self-discovery. It's about learning. It's about seeing where you're supposed to be. And just like the supreme being had to study itself, you have to study yourself. And then in that process, you're also studying someone else, and you're designing a mating. You're designing a structured interfacing. That's how you mate something. Mate just means match. That's all. It's not a deep word. Just means match. Like a screw to a screw hole. They mate. Boom. Okay. So if a screw thinks it's a nail, where's it gonna go? Where's it gonna go? If I wear a size 13 shoe, and I think I wear size 7.5, because I'm unaware what's gonna happen when I go into the store. You see? So it's really important that we begin to not only study ourselves, and for the women, it's important in terms of that communal piece that I spoke about a little bit earlier, because women are the most similar thing to you. And I know that can be difficult for many women who share, well, I don't really get along with women. I like to be around men. Yeah, because I don't want to get all into off into that, but it's a different dynamic, and most of the time, it's not an authentic dynamic. You know, but when you have this sense that you don't want to be what's like you, then that's something that we have to look at and study. We have to find out what's going on there. I mean, we can celebrate Oshun all day, but Oshun is the energy that brings light together, that creates that sense of tribalism, that creates that sense of nationalism by saying, oh, you look like me, and you look like me, and you look like me. Oh, we should celebrate how we look. Let's all come together. Now we got one group over here. Then the other one, and say, oh, you look the same, and you talk the same. You guys should go over here and celebrate that. You see, so that sense of sameness is very important. Now, like I said earlier, the 14 keys, right? This is a critical part to your journey. And I knew I'm trying to get it. So, well, it's not like I'm not covering it. This is probably not even a cover that you see anymore anyway. This is one of my proof copies. So it looks something like this, right? But the foundation is right here in terms of our new philosophy, our new calculation. Okay, it lies within the 14 keys, and that's our pivot point. Okay, that's where we, even if there's disagreement, or if there's a misunderstanding, that's what we hold it against. Okay, well, let's look at the 14 keys and see if that makes sense. So, for instance, I'm just gonna thumb through. I'm not even gonna, right? Okay, yeah, I use this one. Respectfully, I propose, I'm speaking about faith. Respectfully, I propose that now is our time to proceed beyond belief. We have come into an era of knowing. This begins with us discerning who our people, parents, teachers, and leaders are. Faith is a dive into the abyss of the unseen world, but only because the dive is necessary. It is our acuity to tap beyond what we passively accept with the proactive commitment of our entire beings. Faith is the only reality we accept while concurrently concocting it. Okay? Now, that's how we feel about faith as our new, right? There's no belief. You heard that in there. We're dealing with knowing, and we're concocting our reality, based on what we have envisioned in our mind's eye. So reality is unfolding as we're visualizing it actively. Okay, this is faith. Like we said, this begins with us discerning who our people, parents, teachers, and leaders are. Right. So when we say things like our people got to get it together, who are we talking about? Right? So faith requires us to discern who's who, to discern who's in our grouping, who's in our nation, who's in our family, who's in our vibe. Who can we look to and say they're a modeling leader? They're a model of where it is that I want to be. They're a model of where it is that I want to go, based on my understanding. I got an incense stick in my hand, but based on my understanding of what faith is. Okay, so and that understanding we provide here. So now, why does this make it easier? So when we're having discussions, we can get on the same page. We have valuable tenets, valuable principles to discuss, um, and then that takes us into deeper thought form, deeper conversation. So one of the first things that you'll do, you know, if you're brought into our new men or our new women, and the women, you guys know this, of course, um, is you'll be working with this, with the 14 keys. Why? Because this is foundation. This is basis. So when I later say something like, "Well, I don't believe anything," um, I know or I don't know. You're not sitting there scratching your head. What's he talking about? Because you already covered it in the basics and the foundation. I'll pick another one. I'm just doing lotto right now. Okay. So where we at? Okay, righteousness. Righteousness is the act of being functionally relevant within the current perceptual context. Our codes of righteousness should be certified by the needs and policy required for our liberation. I'm just going to, that's just two sentences. I'm just going to work with the first two sentences. So, right there, it tells you that our new code of righteousness is based upon the contextual relevancy of what righteousness is supposed to be. It's not based upon on you saying something like, "Well, I grew up like this," or the Bible says this or this or that. We're dealing with the relevant times of where we're at and determining what's righteous based upon that, right? Our codes of righteousness should not be certified by the needs and policy. I'm sorry, our codes of righteousness should be certified by the needs and policy required for our liberation. Well, why is that relevant? Because many of us are not liberated, right? Now, liberation is a physical, emotional state. Freedom is a mental state. So many of us are in a space in terms of how we perceive or how we're experiencing liberation or non-liberation. We can't do what we want to do. We can't have as many children as we want to have. We can't live where we want to live. You know, so many people I speak to because they know I knew also we do work on the continent. On the continent, what am I speaking about? The continent known as the Kibalan, all right, or some people may call Africa, right? So how many people have spoken to me said, "Man, Chief, you do so much work over there. I want to go over there with you. I want to do this with you. I want to do that with you, but I can't because of this, because of that, because there's so many different things that are really just feeding into your demise." So being a part of these ministries is about also reprioritizing, you know, building wealth, learning about wealth. The Anu men could attest for that to that. Because we've been doing that for some time now, learning different modalities of wealth, even down to, I don't think he's on here. I didn't see his name pop up, but there was a brother who did a presentation on organization and just using different apps and organizing softwares to organize task lists and things like that, right? That's a critical part to our manhood and to our spirituality. Because how are you going to have a woman or women, and you can't keep order, and your job as the man is to maintain order, and that's what she's coming to you for. So we learn about all of the different relevant tools within our current context that are made available to us to get done what we need to get done, right? So there's so many different things, I could just finish that sentence. Propriety slash righteousness is not akin to morality, which is usually offered up through religious dogma and indoctrination. So again, Anu is not a religion. Okay, it's a way of making sense of life. It's a yeah, brother MGC, exactly. I don't think he's here though. It's a way of helping us all to understand the world and creating family as needed, right? So I get letters all the time, emails, inbox messages, where I have a lot of men who tell me, Chief, you're like a father figure to me, man. I haven't had a father in my life, and you're kind of the only, older man that I really, I feel your vibe, I rock with you, so forth and so on. And our new men is about, okay, well, it's time for you to meet some of your uncles. It's time for you to meet some of your brothers or some of the other men who are present, because anything could happen to me. Anything could happen to me. Is this engine able to move forward? Are you tied into the actual mission of Anu, or are you tied into an individual? Because this has nothing to do with idolizing me or what I may know, because everything I know I can give to anybody who's receptive enough to receive it. And then you can take that, crumple it up, make art with it, and then just like we take newspapers and we make masks with them and all kind of things, you take that information, you mangle it, and then you take it somewhere else. That's what it's supposed to be, not having some supreme brainiac sitting at the top of the mountain forever, and then when something happens to them, the whole experience disperses. That's what happens with organizations, and we're not an organization. We're not an organization. If that's what you're wondering, organizations get infiltrated. Our New Life Global Ministries is a ministry. Now, what does the word minister mean? It means to serve. So we're here to serve. And we learn all of these different things so that we can serve better. We consider that as a part of our faith. As a part of our service is a part of our walk. Service is a part of our faith. Service makes you more of an Anu. What is an Anu? A person from heaven. We'll get into the breakdown of Anu another time. The people from heaven. Okay? So we're coming in and we're bringing more light and more balance onto the earth's surface. Right? So the key thing that we're doing here is service. So you may find for some of you who maybe have applied in the past, and what I'm also going to say is I'm going to invite all of you who have applied in the past, who maybe didn't make the first cohort, apply again. You know, some of you started with the first cohort, but for different reasons couldn't follow through the term. For some of you, it was scheduling, like you just couldn't make the calls and things like that. But I would also kind of let you know, I got to be honest with you. Yeah, I've been honest the whole time, but I'm gonna be super honest. Um, if you're not ready to put the work in, don't think that you can hide. Don't think that we don't know that you're not ready to put the work in and you're only coming to take. We can tell. And it's not just in what you write in your application. Well, I want to. Don't think we can't see through that. Don't think that you're not dealing with people who are spiritually in tune and grounded and see you coming from a mile away. No matter your machinations and what you're used to, how you're used to manipulating people, don't think that we don't see it. So we may even let you in, not because we fell for the nonsense, but because we're giving you an opportunity to reform. So once you come into an environment like this one, because some of you who've been rocking with me for a while, you kind of got a little sense of some of my boundaries. You don't know me as a person, but you may be more clear on some of the boundaries, and you probably know that I'm not here for games. I'm not here to play with anyone. I'm not here to play with your experience or with your spirit, and I'm certainly not going to have my time wasted or for me to be played with. That's just not going to happen. And I know way too much black arts for you to want to play that game with me, because I will send a hawk spirit into your home. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. So, like I was saying, so the key thing for you to understand is that this is an experience where we're getting together and we're raising up the deity that's been nodding off inside of us all, that's been dead asleep inside of us all, that's been asleep and thought it was never going to wake up. And some of us are coming out of a coma state. We think we just sleep or we're a little lazy, but we're actually in comas. So we got to get you out of the coma, take you through the sleep process, and then end the dream that from the sleep process, and then bring you perpendicular. So for some, it's a harder process than others, and willfully you want to be a part of that process. But if you don't, it's understandable. Like I said, everything ain't for everybody, and just like many of you enjoy the information that you're receiving, understand that the information is attached to a culture. You know, I didn't just read a bunch of books and say, "Ooh, I'm gonna go on the internet and talk about this and that." There's a culture that's not only attached to the information, but there's a culture that's attached to the motivation behind sharing the information. You see, so when you become a part of our new womb and become a part of our new men, you start to learn that culture, and it starts to become an indwelling, living truth as it should be. The idea again, and for those of you coming in late, because I know this is always the clincher for you, for so many of you, um, of matehood is very serious here. The idea of courtship is very serious. You just getting with someone because you like the vibe, or we don't really honor that. So there's a process that we urge people to go through in order to mate properly, because you can't build anything without stability. You can't build anything with a bunch of flaky people or a bunch of flaky relationships. And there's things that we're building here in the States, and there's things that we're building abroad. And this is an opportunity for those of you who want to be a part of this and take it beyond Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. All right, because it's been beyond that for a long time, and some of you have made really serious efforts. I've brought some students already out to the land already on the continent. Some students have stayed with me out on the continent. And we don't do a big announcement or anything like that, but I have brought students over the water to keep a line, and they've stayed and they've moved around and enjoyed it and loved it, and things like that. And we're actually going to bring some more. Well, I'm going to bring some more this year again, right? There's no official tour trips before those questions come. It was just situations like, man, I really want to go. Well, you know what? I'm going this such and such, or this. Oh, can I come with you? Come on, let's go. It's time for you to learn about the continent. So eventually we will do official things like that. But just to give you an idea, there have been people who have been really um, dead set on, nah, I want this. I'm gonna go get this. I want to go learn about this. I want to really get into this new thing. I want to see what maybe even your process is like, Chief. Like, what do you do every day? And so that's what this experience is about. Now, let me give you some logistics. And if you have any questions, you can post them. Hopefully, I'll see them. But let me give you some of the logistics. This Sunday will be the cutoff for this particular cohort, for our new men and our new women. And when I say the cutoff for applications, it doesn't mean that if you put an application in after this Sunday that you can't come in, but you'll be considered for the next round. We're only trying to take but so many people in at one time, just to make sure it's manageable, because there's a lot of in the beginning there's a lot of hands-on activities and stuff, and we have to review them and things like that. So when we have a whole lot of people, that's just a whole lot of work, and none of us are getting paid for this. All right. So let me just put that out there too. Nobody's getting paid or anything like that. There's no application fee. There's no membership fee or anything like that. So this is all from this place. All right. So we try to keep it manageable, and I try to make sure the people who are volunteering that they're not bombarded, because I don't want to get that email, Chief, I appreciate everything, but I'm not going to be able to. So I try to keep things as light as possible. All right. So if you want to sign up, you just have to go to anulifeglobal.org. ANULIFEGLOBAL.org. I saw the question. anulifeglobal.org. Okay. And if you look at the top right on the menu, you're going to see Anu Men, and then you're going to see Anu Womb. All right. So for the women, you would click Anu Womb, and you can go through that application process. For the men, you would click Anu Men, and you would go through that application process. Okay. Fill them out in their entirety, and they'll be reviewed, and then you'll get a response back either way, right? So this Sunday will be the cutoff for this particular cohort. We have a good amount of men already who have applied, and we have a good amount of women that who have applied. But I just wanted to do like a video to just give more information, and for those of you who may have missed the previous announcements, or who don't normally go to that website, which is understandable, to let you know that that's what's actually going on. All right. So I'm gonna give a moment just for any questions that are relevant to what I was just talking about. All right. If you have any questions about Anu as a movement, you have any questions about Anu Men, you have any questions about Anu women, feel free to post them up. All right, and if I catch them, I'll answer them. All right, you see, I'm already squinting. It's been a long day. All right. All right. I don't know what the hell. What were y'all talking about? But I'll wait till I see a question mark. Yeah. So, Yeah, so that's basically where we're at with it. And we have a lot of things that we have planned in terms of like retreats, hiking experiences, more speaking tours and things like that. Um, is there a confirmation email? Yes, Suzanne. That will go out after this Sunday. So if you're saying if there's a confirmation email like right when you apply, no, there's not a confirmation like, yeah, that's what you asked. No, there isn't. There isn't a confirmation response like other than like, thank you for filling out the form. Someone will get back. It's a robot. But no, we've already reviewed everyone who's applied as of up until I think yesterday. Everyone has been reviewed already, and then we're just giving until Sunday, and then we'll send out emails to everyone. So if you've put your form in, if you've put your application in, then we have received it. It's in there. All right. So yeah, there's no immediate confirmation email. But yeah, just in terms of like a lot of the things that we have planned, of course, Red Wrap, which of course falls under our new womb, is another experience that we want to bring more women into, not only to be a part of facilitating, but also maybe where you live, you might want to run a Red Wrap. We've had people already in the Bahamas who want to run a Red Wrap, run a Red Wrap. Not bad. We've had people in the northern part, the central, what's that called? Central northern, I guess, of the U.S. who want to do a red wrap. And we've had, I think, two sisters in the U.K. They want to do a red wrap. So, so we actually have put together a SOP for red wrap to make it a little easier to translate from place to place. But one of the things that I wanted to do was to get some of the other women involved in that, as far as the women who are in the ministry, the women's ministry. Okay. Anwar says, will there be any directional changes in the men's group? Maybe format changes? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's going to be directional changes because, um, just to be clear, did you suggest it wouldn't hurt to reapply? Yeah, if you didn't receive a response from the first cohort, the first one, all right, not this recent one, but the first. I don't remember when we did it was last year, I think, when we started the first one. Madam Ma'at can verify that for me. But if you didn't receive a response from that first one, then feel free to reapply. Now, as far as answering your question, Anwar, about formatting changes from it, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You guys are doing some wonderful things right now, but for the men, it needs to get a bit more physical. Okay, and I mean that in many different ways. Uh, so let me clarify some things here. Um, this is more than a thought movement, but it's a movement that encompasses 360 degrees of the participant, mind, body, spirit, right? So, and of course, soul is in it, but you can't do anything with the soul. It's other than listen to it, right? So, yeah, one of the things with the men is looking at the health of the men. You find that's why in the questionnaire, one of the things that we ask on the application is, what do you eat? Do you consider yourself healthy? Now that's not to say you eat pork rinds. Yeah, it's not to do that to you, but it's to make a determination, like the work that we need to do as administrators. If we get a bunch of people saying I eat hog mars and fat back, then okay, then we know we need to focus on certain things. All right, so yeah, the format will absolutely change. And also now because we've refined, this is where we talk about compliments. Because we've refined our new women, now our new men has to be refined. You see, in order to mate with our new women. Because when our new women are doing activities and they're doing red wraps, because some of the shelters that we go into for red wrap are not in the best of neighborhoods, right? So the men have to go with them and wait outside, right? Now, can you wait outside without falling asleep? You see, can you stand up for 3 4 hours and not complain about your ankles and your knees? So let's see. Gloria said, "I'll reapply, but I know I have to work. I have work to do prior. I'm still interested in red rap in my area. Okay, I thought I saw a question though. Let me see. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, maybe I didn't. Okay. So, yeah, so there's a certain thing that you have to be in order to complement the woman that's coming forth. It's like I said, wisdom comes through the woman. We become wise again through the woman, but when we get that wisdom back through the woman, we still have to fall back on knowledge and still be the head. Are you qualified as a man to be a head? Right? It's not just about knowing stuff, but it's also about knowing yourself and knowing women. How many times have I gotten on the Anu men's call, and the men can attest to this, and the conversation turned into Mackin lessons? Yo, Chief, so if she says this, what should I say? If I'm trying to get my woman to do it, no, let me. Yeah, but how many times has it gone in that direction, right? Because, in all honesty and truthfulness, a lot of our men don't really know about women. They don't really know about how to relate, even to the women who they may be in relationships with. So that's an important part of your manhood training. Yeah, you know how to use the studio rate, be the show. Okay, all right, cool. So yeah, absolutely, the format is going to change for men. It has to, because we already have 3, 4 months in already. You guys know I'm not that great with time. But 3, 4 months in with this new cohort of women and what they would need in compliment right now, the men don't have. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put it out there publicly. Okay, I'm heading to Brooklyn. Okay, cool. You know, I'm just gonna put it out there, right? Because what they've been dealing with and the lessons that I've been taking them through over the past 3, 4 months now has created a more intense line of questions. So yes, I do understand. For you women who are in our new womb, you probably feel like, man, after I do these activities and stuff, I got more questions than I came in with. I know you do. All right, don't think I'm just, I'm unaware of that. Um, but are the men prepared to answer those questions or to be the answer to those questions? So yeah, and it's not to say that you guys can't. You guys are doing excellent work, but it's just about, yeah, changing the format up a little bit. All right, so yeah, there will be some changes afoot. All right, there will be some changes, and that of course means this, Anwar. Some of the men that we currently have present, we won't have present. Some won't make it. All right. Some won't make it. And just like a lot of the women didn't make it. Not a lot, but some women didn't make it because they were not. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, is the group for singles. Well, Anu is not for singles, but if you're single, you can come into Anu. But I want you to understand that we're not promoting singlehood. Why are you single? That's the question. You're not. We're made to be together. So I'm going to reiterate that again to answer that question. I didn't see your name, Domino or something like that. Oh, Downtown Ops. My bad. All right. Is the group for singles? If you're an adult, why are you single? We don't. We're not really. For what? What are you single for? And then Aldene says, yes, you're single for years. Why? There's something wrong. That's a sickness. Okay? Downtown Ops says, I'm married and would love to build with other married women. As you should. So I don't know why you asked that question. But okay. I don't even know why you asked that. Maybe you asked it for somebody else. Um, no, if you've been single for years, something's wrong. Period. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with you. And we're going to start there. Before we start with I can't find anybody who's at my level. Something's wrong with you. So we have to look at that. That's what our new woman's about. What's wrong for you to even begin to normalize that type of lifestyle, right? Um, See, and a lot of that, again, it's like when I talk about a lot, and we have men who are single and our new men, and we're working on that. And I want you to understand that I'm not advocating marriage, but I am advocating that every single woman should be covered. Every single woman should have a head. Every single woman. And your head is not your uncle. A woman should be covered at all times of her life. From a girl to a woman, she should always be covered. by her father. It just by her father and her brothers, then by her mate. Then if her mate transitions, by her sons. A woman should always be covered. Always. Now I know you'll hear a lot in a lot of other groups. I don't care about them. I'm telling you what we do and how we function as I knew. Okay? Um, Women shouldn't even be moving around outside by themselves. They shouldn't. They should always be covered. They should. She's the resource. How you gonna have a well and you don't cover the well? What's gonna happen? Birds are gonna come and defecate in it. Animals are gonna fall in it, and it's gonna poison the water. So what do you do when you have a well? You always keep it covered. You see? So as far as that idea, and I know that people may not want to get with that, but that's okay. This is not a Western experience. It's just not. Okay? And again, I don't advocate that. What is that? All the things. Truth. Unfortunately, if some of us are not, then some women and girls are blamed. Well, yeah, because some should be blamed. Some of you women don't have a mate because you're unmarriageable. You're not likable. So sometimes it is your fault. It's okay with taking blame. If you're gonna apply for our new womb or our new man, be prepared to take some blame. Be prepared to take some blame. Victim mentality does not survive here. Okay, Vanessa Sanders, so what are you saying? I'm sick in what way? What? With all those question marks? Don't ask me a question like that. Don't put all those question marks when you ask me a question. You're not talking to some sissy. So check your tone. All right? And are you saying, so what? You're saying I'm sick with all those question marks? First of all, don't challenge me like that. Ask a more intelligent question and take all those goddamn question marks out there. You're not talking to a little boy. All right? So, like I was saying, we're speaking about what we do. Okay? Now, you could take that stuff somewhere else. There's always going to be a goddess club that you can go to who's going to tell you you don't need this and you don't need that and you're everything. Go over there. This ain't for that. This is for, we're dealing with indigenous culture. All right? Now, let's see. Because if y'all want to start getting funky. Moon Baptist says, I am single and desire covering. However, the males I have been encountering are either beta. All right, I didn't even have to read the rest of that. The reason, yeah, it's not your intention to offend. That's why you need to be in our new womb so you can learn how to talk to a man, Vanessa. Don't put all those question marks when you're asking me something. And don't challenge me with a question. So you saying I'm sick? So what if I am saying you sick? What you gonna do about it? Maybe you are sick. Are you prepared to hear that maybe you are sick? Why else would you need to reform yourself? Maybe you are sick. Now what? Now what do we do? Because if you're not sick, why are you here? If there's not something that needs to be repaired, why are you here? Think about that. Who on the planet comes underneath a sick culture and comes out unscathed, unsick? Don't ask me silly questions. I've been teaching this for a long time. Go back through the archives. So now let's go back. I am single and desire covering. Right, you said, but however, the males I encounter. The reason that males you encounter are beta because you're a beta, Moon Baptist. That's why. You're a beta. Let me get my finger out the way here. So now you got to learn how to be an alpha. Everything has its complement. Everything has its mate. You know why you guys keep meeting effeminized males? Because you're a masculine female. That's why that's what just keeps coming into your orbit. Because of you. So you have to learn to feminize. And then you probably going to the next question. You going to tell me I'm not feminine? You probably not. That's what you're here to learn. Now I know the numbers are going to keep dropping. And that's cool. That's why I'm going to give it to you raw and uncut like this. You're going to get this raw and uncut. So you don't even have to waste your 10 minutes filling out an application. And you don't have to waste my 5 minutes reading your application. We're here to heal and we're here to get our minds right. We all start somewhere. A lot of the guys who came into our new womb, our new man, they weren't manly in the beginning, and some still aren't. They're still learning. They're still trying to get to that point. It's a process. We're here to help each other. And some of the women came in struggling. We've had over 6 versions of our new woman. This isn't the first one. Yeah, we you can't make comments and look at videos all day on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube about how sick this society is and think that we just come out of it unscathed. And all of a sudden, there's nothing wrong with me. Of course, there's something wrong with you. Listen to the language that I'm using as I'm speaking to you. Why am I not speaking my mother tongue right now? Think about that. I'm speaking to you in English right now. Does that not denote a degree of sickness even in me? If I'm thinking right now, what language do you think I'm thinking in? And I speak other languages. All right, now let's see what else we got. Okay, what happens if you started class before? This is not class, Alderay, so I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not sure what you mean. All right, I know, but in terms of being, I know, but covering in terms of being protected, I understand now though. Good. Yeah, this is serious stuff, man. I know you guys may be used to a YouTube experience where someone's just saying what they want, what you want to hear, because they don't give a crap about you. That's not what this is. You're gonna get what the reality of our situation is, and we're gonna fix this. And if you're not ready for that, there's so many other experiences, so many other places that you can go and feel more comfortable. But here, men, you're going to question yourself. You're going to question your manhood. Women, you're going to question yourself. You're going to question everything. You're going to find yourself saying what so many women say when they come from under this learning, and they're going to say this: I feel like everything I've been doing was wrong. That's something that comes up sometimes. Um, I'm afraid to say the answer because I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. That's another common phrase. Reformation means that we have to start over from a place where we go back to our source. This culture that we've come under has driven us far from it, far from our source. You see? So no, no, no. There's a lot of work involved. You see? All right, now let's go back up. And again, I'm going to reiterate: if you're single, that's fine, but understand that that's a situation and that's a condition to be repaired. If you're an adult and if you're of marriageable age, then that's a condition to be repaired. That's not something to say, well, how do you work around? I'm not working around your dysfunction. I'm going to highlight your dysfunction and we're going to heal it together. That's what I'm here to do. But I'm not here to make place and to make a comfy seat for your dysfunction. And that's happened already. We've had people come in and say, well, I don't really get along with other people, but I don't mind being a part of this, but I just kind of want to work in my own corner and be left alone. This isn't for you. No, this is not the culture that we're working with. The 14 keys will tell you that this is not the culture. One of the keys in here is harmony, balance, reciprocity. That has nothing to do with singlehood. Okay, nothing to do with singlehood. All right. What if you're married for many years, but your man doesn't evolve to be in a position to support your spiritual journey? Respectfully asking, that's I'm you know why I'm laughing, and you know who you are. Not you, Charlotte. There's somebody else in here, and so we have that conversation has come up already in Anu Womb. The first thing you got to understand is you as a woman should never be in a position to tell your man if he's evolving or not. Because if he's the head, I'm the head of my family. My women cannot see what I can see. They have no clue what I think about every day or what I go through every day because I'm so far ahead of them. It's like I don't know what's on top of the sun. You don't know what's on top of the sun because we look up and we can barely even look into it. So if you're in a relationship where you're saying like, well, I'm evolving beyond my man, let me tell you something. Half the time you're not. You just think you are. Half the time. By time when we kind of look into this and see what's actually happening, when we dissect it, a lot of times it's not what you think it is. It's just you're going down a certain course of study that your husband is not going down. Now, where's the first problem? Look at my hands. This is your husband. This is you. Your husband's going here, or just here, and you're going here. So who's leading you here? Because as a feminine energy, as watery energy, water without agitation will go nowhere. It will be a swamp. It will hold still. So water needs air and fire to move, or air and sun. So who's your sun? Who's your air? Who's agitating you to move this way if it's not your husband that's right here? So we got a split in the family. So there's really something else that needs to be addressed before we even talk about that. Now, does that mean that you can't join on the womb? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that at all. But what it does mean is this: we can't put you into a position where you're representing the value of a complete, whole, and aligned family when that's not what you're representing, because you have a split camp situation. And if you start receiving light from here that's evolving you even more, what does that do inside of your household? I'm not a pastor. I'm an ordained minister, but I'm not a pastor. I'm not here to destroy your home. I'm not here to tell you that your husband is no good and that you need to find a righteous man. And I'm not here to do that. I'm here to try to tell you that, you got to keep your family together. And where your husband leads is where you should follow. Now, if you can introduce wisdom to your husband, do that first. Because remember, the man receives wisdom. His first awakening is through the water of his woman. All men, even me, all men. You see? Let me tell you, my name Haru, a woman gave me that name. A woman gave me that name, Haru. Right? The first title in my whole name, Haru Yuya Asan Anu. A woman gave me that name, not my mother. Okay? So you can introduce wisdom to your man, but you're not supposed to teach your man. Your man is supposed to teach you. Okay? Wisdom is something different. Wisdom is applied. Now, where does a woman get the knowledge in order to have the wisdom? Usually through her father, maybe through an elder, so forth and so on. Okay? But it shouldn't be from the brother down the street who owns a bookstore. I go in there and buy books, and he likes me, so he tells me stuff, and now I'm going to go back and introduce that to my husband. That's not going to work. Or you go to your husband and say, well, Chief Yuya says, so now your husband's going to put a hit out on me. Now we got an issue. That's not the way this order works. So you can join, but you got to understand that the ultimate goal is to bring your family together under a banner. And if it's not Anu, that's fine. If your husband says, yes, I like what you're doing, I like the changes I'm seeing, I want to learn more, I want to be a part of this, excellent, that's great. If he says, I like it, it's cool, however, I want us to go this way, go that way. Go that way. Because that respects the divine laws that we teach. All right? So I hope you understand that answer. I know it was a long one, but it wasn't just for you. I know I probably got like 15 other women on who have the same situation, because, again, we live in a society where everything is backwards. So whereas men are supposed to be leading and teaching, I'm not saying this about your husband. I don't know your husband. So I'm speaking in general. Men are passive and effeminate and have nothing to give. My primary role as a man is to give. Your primary role as a woman is to receive. But when you live in a sick society, it flips it upside down. So now you got all the mouth and I got nothing to say. See, that's the backwardness of it all. You see? So the goal is to rebalance it the way it's supposed to be. My whole anatomy is built to give you something. Your whole anatomy is built to receive what I give to you. You see? So in this society, it's perverse, it's distorted, and what's unnatural has become the norm, and what's natural has become abnormal. So it's abnormal to see a man with direction, a man with order, a man with structure to say, this is what we're doing. So for instance, if you started studying things and evolving beyond your man, I already see an issue. Because how did he let you go in that direction? Let my woman bring home a new book. What you got there? What's that? What you got in your hand? Come here. Huh. I can't tell you how many times. Oh, you got to take this back. I just ordered off of Amazon. Return it. It's garbage. Right? Because that's my job. Remember what I said in the beginning? I don't know if you were here. One of the man's primary job is to defend and deflect. Defend and deflect. This is Pak style. And Wing Chun. It's Pak style. Right? Punch comes. You just deflect it. Deflect it. Pak style. Right? So defend and deflect. That's our primary job. Something comes to the homestead that looks like it's going to tear the homestead up. We push it. We send it there. Send it away from the homestead. So the question is, how is it that you're evolving and going further and he's not, when he's supposed to be leading? Some of you have the titles of husbands, I'm not talking about your husband. I don't know him. Some of you have the titles of wives, but you have not fulfilled the role of husband or wife. It's just a title. See, that's what our new woman, our new man is about. It's about making those choices sensibly. Men being careful about where you plant your seed. Women being more selective and careful about who you let inside of you. You know, I'm gonna go through some more. I know there's more. That guy check can be brutal at times, but very necessary. Hey, it is what it is. Moon Baptist, I agree, Chief. Even the women around me are overly masculating, and I'm very aware of it. I am here to learn how to break that cycle. Well, first start with getting away from them trannies, because that's all that is. That is nothing but a tranny. When you have a guy acting like a female, what is that? When you have a female acting like a guy, what is that? You around trannies. Yeah, I know. Numbers probably gonna go down again. That's all right. This is the first level of filtering right now. Simone Good said, I posed a question on Facebook yesterday, and I'm happy to hear and see these programs you have in place. Everybody is busy empowering women. Who is preparing men for these empowered women? Right. Yeah, absolutely right. And let me tell you something. If people are not empowering the family, nobody's getting empowered. So don't even worry about it. All of those women empowerment summits and stuff like that, those are feminist rallies. Those are family destroying rallies. Because if you're not empowering the family, it's either you gotta do one or two things. You either empower the family or you empower the man. That's it. Because if you empower the man, his job is to teach the family. So whatever you give the man is going to trickle down to the family anyway. That's the natural order. Whatever you give the family is all good because it's the family's going to get it direct anyway. But when you're empowering the women, you're already promoting and encouraging a perversion of the natural order. You see? But again, we have to ask this question. What man allows that? We got a lot of people out here with the role of man, with the role of husband, but don't have a clue of what it is to be one, or a role of wife and a role of woman, but don't have a clue. One of the questions I often ask a lot of women, you've been a victim of this experience, what's a woman? And it's a lot of, well, to me, well, I don't know, I don't want to say the wrong answer. No one's ever had that conversation with you. That's why I have Anu Womb. That's why I have Anu Man. So we can have those conversations. What is a man? What is my role? What am I supposed to be doing? What is a woman? What is my role? What am I supposed to be doing? How do those two work together? What does that have to do with building a nation? And then when children come, what are the children supposed to do? And why do I even want any of this stuff? I just want peace. Do I need to have all of this stuff? Is it somehow tied into the peace that I'm not experiencing? All right, I'm going to go through some more. All things thought, love, whatever, all things love one. I'm grateful for my husband and he respects my desire for learning. However, I'm not certain if we find it necessary. All right. Leah Michelle, I'm sorry. I don't think I'm being protected by the person I'm with. We're both clueless in terms of our roles in the relationship. So why are you with him? I don't want to turn this into a relationship thing, but maybe it's good that you guys are saying some of these things so you can get a sense of what we're about here at Our New. I meet a woman, I tell her what a role is. This is what I need you to do A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to do this for you. That's the contract. If that's not happening, then are we like two girls coming together? We're just like friends? Am I functioning as a man? Is she functioning as a woman? Or am I making the roles clear? Because what does sun do? It shines light. I'm the sun, I'm the light. I gotta shine light and everybody can see, they look at the light, oh, this is what I am. Okay. If I'm not doing that, then what am I really doing here? You see? That's why our new man is so critical. You know, that self-awareness. Remember when I spoke about that in the Quran, Allah creates itself and then takes time to study itself. I have to be aware of my self shape so I understand what my complement is supposed to be and supposed to do. A lot of guys, you guys mess up on that. You don't realize, or you're too afraid to tell a woman, this is what I need you to do. But a lot of that is because you're not self aware, and that's the beginning of it all. You have to dig into yourself. You got to learn yourself, or you are of no use. All right, so I'm gonna go to some more of these. You're brilliant too, Charlotte. We all brilliant. We all shining over here. Thankful my husband does teach and I provide wisdom. That's good, Simone. So you good to go. Peace, Zach. All right, she's still bigging up her husband. Nothing wrong with that. I love that. You know, love on each other. We need more of that. Alder Ray says some same reason why women need leadership. We stay disrespecting men. Well, yeah, you do stay disrespecting men, but understand that this society tells you to do that. It's not because you have a natural desire, like you come out the womb and look at your father like, it's not that. It's that you grow up in a society that tells you that you have to disrespect men. So it's an inborn thing, and it takes us, our new people, with our new people from heaven. So that means our thought process and our structure is not based on societal engineering. It's based on heavenly engineering. So that's why when I come through and a woman is coming at me funny, oh, who the hell are you talking to? No, 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 we don't do that. Stop. Because I'm not linked into that. So yeah, society is going to tell you to do that, but your job is to spend more time in that other place and get back to your real shape. That's the resource. Get back to your natural reforming. Where you say, wait a minute, I don't have this natural desire to want to disrespect anyone, because disrespect means that I'm not seeing the person. So if I disrespect the man, that means I'm the blind one. Respect, I've taught this so many times. Respect means to see. Re is the source. So if I'm respecting you, I see the source. If I disrespect you, that means I can't see the source. And that's for one or two reasons. Either I can't see, or you're not projecting yourself as the source. But despite how you're projecting yourself, I should still be able to see it. So sometimes you literally can't respect the person because they're not functioning. Because Re not only means source, but it comes from Re, which means divine light, or Atum Re, or the deity Ra, which is a form of what some would call God, right? So respect also means to see light or to see God. But if I'm not transmitting light, or I'm not transmitting my Godhead or my Godhood, then you can't respect me. You could try, and honestly, hey, honestly, a lot of you women do that. A lot of you do that. You posture your husbands to be more than what they really are. And there's something admirable about it, but there's also, it's delusional at the same time. And I've heard it. I've heard women say, "My husband's a king, and he this and that," and he's none of that. He's none of that. It's just you don't want to be left out in the, honor my husband conversation. But yeah, respect is it's a two-way thing in that I have to be emitting my deityhood in order for you to see it. Respect, see light, see source. Okay, so yeah, women stay disrespected, men. And you know, it's something we got to work on. What we do to each other. Okay, so now let's see. I had to check the roads. Yeah. Okay. Self exploration is one of the first steps to self love. I remember you saying that in one of the solstice videos. You can't properly connect to someone if you don't know how to connect with yourself. Exactly. Okay. So I'm just going through some of these questions with y'all. Historically, even Christianity went through a reformation. Yes, this is true. Peace, Sister Marva. One of my favorite grandmothers. Well, well. I find myself in trouble in some of the organizations I find myself in, and when I ask why aren't the men at the head, I find it difficult for women to lead me, so I get that look. You know what? Insane people are always going to give you funny looks. We know it works, we know what doesn't work. We know what we've been tricked into thinking we're supposed to be doing, and what's never going to work for us. Let's just stop playing with it. And for those of you, peace, Brother Obadina. For those of you who are coming from an indigenous perspective, you're saying, well, I'm studying the Orisha under chief and stuff like that. Patriarchy. They're patriarchal systems. Yes, they're matrilineal. Yes, that's why you have those sayings like we always say on the continent, the man gets nothing, the woman gets everything. That's a phrase that we say back home. And it's because Like even the chief's line comes through the woman. So even if your father was a chief, if his chieftaincy wasn't received through his mother, you won't be a chief. The royal line comes through the woman, right? So we always joke about that. The man gets nothing, the woman gets everything. But it's still a patriarchal system, meaning what? That men take the lead. They're in charge. Okay? Now, can patriarchy and matriarchy exist? Yes. When does a woman get an opportunity to express her matriarchal spirit? With her children and with junior women. So there is an opportunity for women to lead. There's an opportunity for men to lead. And then when we get old and wrinkly and crusty, there's an opportunity for our children to lead. You see, there's a time when your son, woman, will say to you, "Mother, stop. I got this. With all due respect, listen to what I'm telling you. Period." I've gone through it, where I tell them, "No, we're gonna do this my way." Why? Because it's my job now to cover you. If your car breaks down on the side of the road, who do you call? If you hear a funny noise outside of your home, who do you call? You call me, your son. You see? So that earns me something. Part of that, you're under my covering. If we look at in ancient times, even the harem, or the harem, or what we called in Yoruba, the orun, the Yoruba word for heaven, same word, the Arabic word for harem, right? The harem didn't just consist of the man's lovers, but it was also his children and his mother lived inside of heaven or lived inside of the harem. And he was responsible for covering the entire harem, which consisted of his mother, his aunts, his sons up into the age of usually 12, 13 years old, the servants, everybody. Okay? So, and inside that environment, there were women who ruled. The women, like his mother was the queen of the harem. She kept everything organized. And if you go into some of the like the Japanese harems, their lucky number for wives was 112. 112 women. So you got your mother who's got to organize 112 women, servants, children, grandchildren, this, that, that, and pick new ones, so forth and so on. So there's an opportunity for everyone to express their spirit of leadership, which is a masculine principle, and there's an opportunity for everyone to express their spirit of following and receptivity, which is a feminine principle. Okay, but it has to happen in proper balance, or we get what we have now, which is not working for us. So that's why this experience is so vital. That's why I Knew Men is so vital. That's why I Knew Women is so vital. So that we can create a covering and an insulation of people who are like us and respect what we're doing. And again, I'll reiterate, for you women who have men who are not interested, yeah, you are in a precarious situation. I wouldn't even lie to you. You are in a precarious situation. Um, Try to bring wisdom, but do it in a way that's feminine. Now, how do I do that? Well, that's what you'll learn in Anu Womb. And for you men who have women who are not interested, your situation is different. Okay, because that's you're just not functioning as a man, or you've lost credibility. You've done something stupid, and you've lost credibility, and now she doesn't want to listen to you. Okay, and those are also things to be addressed in Anu Men. So, like I said, it's not a cakewalk experience. For some it is maybe, but for others, when you're doing any level of true self exploration and self accountability, when you're truly being accountable for what your life has unfolded to be, then yeah, sometimes that can be very difficult. That can be very clumsy even, and it can be painful. But first thing to understand is that in this environment, there have been people who I have removed or rejected because I know they're not loving. And it's very important to me to make sure that any environment I put people inside of, that they're emotionally safe. Physically safe, yeah, but online it's not so much a big deal, but emotionally safe. So that you're able to express certain things you're going through, or express certain things that you're feeling, and know that you're in a safe place where one is not going to be repeated, but also people are not going to use that to manipulate you or bring it back to you in a way that's unloving or that's hurtful. It may be brought back to you. I get blamed for that all the time. People, man, you always throwing stuff back in my face. Yeah, Yeah, I will throw something back in your face when it needs to be thrown back in your face. But always understand that it's out of love. I'm not doing it to hurt you. I'm doing it because you committed and contracted that you were here and you wanted to be here and you wanted my help to take you from here to here. So that may mean that at times I have to remind you that you said you wanted to be here. Well, you're doing this, brother, but you said this is where you wanted to be. Well, that's not going to get you over here. You see, or sister, you're single and you knew you came in single, but you read the 14 keys. You read solutions for dysfunctional family relationships. You've been initiating into spiritual systems that show you the value and the sacredness of mating male with female. You understand that when invaders first came to the continent, the first thing they attacked was the family structure, not the language, not the religion, the family. Because they knew that's where our highest science was. Because if you can understand family, you can understand the sun, moon, and the stars. You can understand everything. You see? So if you knew that coming in and you still over here in a sneaky way, trying to just, you're playing around, or you're courting different men because you like the way this one's voice sound, or this one has a nice beard, or this woman has a nice shape, or you like the way she danced at the celebration, and you're not really interested in forming something. And again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm not speaking about marriage as you may imagine it. There's many ways for people to form committed unions where they're working together in tandem. It doesn't have to be a marriage. It says that doesn't have to be your husband. That doesn't have to be your wife. I want to make that abundantly clear. Okay? Abundantly clear. It's not about that. It's about having a covering. It's about having a woman that you can manifest through and manifest with. Now, what we call that, that can be so many different things. So many different things. But it doesn't have to be a husband and a wife. It doesn't have to be that. Okay? Let me go through some of these. I know there was more that came in I didn't answer. Man, okay, I'm going way back. Okay, here we go. What about Visha? You asked. What about female mystics who are married and leading men? You're not a real mystic. I personally don't believe this should be so, but I stay in my lane and operate in divine order. So why are you asking me this question? You want the raw, uncut? Now we're veering all over the place. Facebook and YouTube is full of female mystics and spiritualists that either don't have men, haven't had men in years because there's hardly anything feminine about them left. And one of the reasons they became mystics is because they didn't like order and structure. They may have came up in the masjid, or they may have came up in the church and someone said you got to cover your head, or you got to wear a dress, or you can't have sex before you get married. And they were rebellious, so they said, you know what? I got another option. I can be a mystic. I'm keeping it 1,000 with you. All right? And I don't talk about that often. I usually leave that part alone. I try not to really address that because most people are not ready for that because people are so matriarchal. You can't say anything like, yeah, your ear is crap. This female, like, what the hell is a female mystic? What the hell is that? A mystic. No, Visha, let me, like, just say this. We're so beyond that here at Anu. We're so far, yeah, I lost what, 4 people? We're so beyond that. You have your kitty knowledge and then you have the real stuff, right? You're not going to hear me refer to people. You may hear me use the word mystic, but you're not going to really hear me refer to people like that, or any situation you have where a woman is leading a man, that's not even chemically viable. And I don't care back in the days where, what society was built that way? Not managed. Women are excellent managers. They're awesome managers. Builders? No. They're not architects. They're not visionaries. They're not wired that way. Right? So I'm not going to play with that. And it's good that you hear it now. For those of you who are turned off by that idea and you feel like, well, women need to come back on the throne and lead. Like I said, there's a lot of useless organizations that promote that kind of information. There are thousands of conscious community panderers that will pander to those sick ideas, and right behind it ask you for a donation for some BS that they're never going to do, never going to build. But they'll say whatever makes your ego feel best. I'm telling you what the solution is. Men have to take the lead, women have to follow. Period. Now, I said men and I said women. I didn't say males and females. I didn't say men and females. I didn't say males and women. So the man has to be built and certified as really being a man by men. The woman has to be built and certified as being a woman by women. And they both have to, that certification has to be validated by a culture that they both come under. I don't adhere to what a Bible says a man is, or what a Quran says a man is, or what I hear a lot of people talk about. Well, I got old-fashioned values. What the heck does that mean? Somebody was saying that to me earlier. Or, yeah, it was earlier today, and a guy was saying, "Man, I remember, in this country, man, and old-fashioned values." And this was a melanin dominant man. I said, the era that you're speaking of, melanin dominant people were being lynched wholesale. You had to go to the back of the building. What are you talking about, old fashioned values? That's the values you want. You talking about the 1950s and what? So we establish our own standard, and if it makes your life move in a way that's more sensible and more sane, then come on. If you feel it doesn't, that's fine. There's different types of people and different type of initiatives and strategies depending on the makeup and the chemistry and the wiring of each person. Let me see some of these other ones. Anwar says, if I can't leave the house, we can't build the future. We can't build a house. Okay. The house should already be built. You don't need a woman to build anything. Some women weren't educated on their proper way of playing their role. Well, that's what our new womb is about. I know that. I know that. And we can't assume that people are, just because they're old or they have gray hair, we can't assume that they have that level of education. Let me see if there's any other questions or anything. Um, Okay, Renata says, prior to finding your work, I wondered why there were so many single people leading spiritual movements. It felt off, and the more I studied what I knew, I realized it was because it is off. Yeah, it's off. It's off. You know, and some of those single people may be watching right now, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but you know how I am. I'm only going to tell you the truth. I'm only your brother. I'm only going to tell you the truth. That's not natural. And a lot of people, and let me tell you something, all these people leading these movements, they're not leading movements. Because what you're going to find is that they're not moving anywhere. You need the duality of male and female to create movement. You need, let's do it like this. Let's make it easy, right? You have three different states of water, right? You have solid, you have liquid, you have gas. You know, the solid could be represented as the masculine, the liquid could be represented as the feminine, and then the gas is the child. Gases or Jesus is the same thing, but it's the movement. When even in Ifa and the Olodu Ifa, when you have symbolisms of gas, it represents children. It represents a person who's gonna, that dispersion of gas in Ifa represents a person who's gonna spread their selves to spread their way through children. You see, so you create no movement without the coming together of two people creating a product of understanding. So what you have in these movements, you have people who just sit there and regurgitate a lot of information. They just talk. Let me tell you something I'm gonna break down for you today. Technically Venus is the same distance from the sun that the planet Earth is, which is true, but who cares? How's that going to get drugs out? How's it going to get my child off of pills? My child keeps drinking cough syrup and taking pills. How's that going to stop that? You see? I have no land. I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay my rent. You know, I can't take trips. You see, so those movements are impotent. And they're impotent because a lot of times they're dissexual. That's what that really is. They're dissexual. You know, the whole idea of being a dissexual is experiencing maybe very pleasurable physical experiences that don't actually create anything, right? You know, you can be licked all day and night, or you can go up into the chocolate highway all day and night, and it may feel great. It may be one of the greatest pleasures you've ever had, but you're not going to create anything. So there are people who have that same type of impotent mentality that then go on to figure out hustles, because they're not movements, they're hustles. I found another way I can make some money. I get on this YouTube, I get a phone, I get on YouTube, I share some information, and then I put a Patreon link at the bottom. Look at that. And then I put some commercials all through it. And then I do a super chat. And people give me just like $20 right there. So I've been sitting here talking for an hour or two, and they gave me $160 already, plus my Patreon. And oh my goodness, and I do 3 videos a day. They figured out hustles, right? I'm not going to mention anyone, anything like that. But I'm just going to say that's not what this is. That's not what this is. Um, yeah, so this is about us coming together, right? And us building something that's respectable, that's relevant, um, and that repairs our situation. And if you don't see that there is a situation, then maybe you don't need this, you know. All right, cool. Oh, is there more? Wow, y'all are very talkative. All right, so I know I shared a lot. In fact, I shared more than I planned on sharing. But um, I think these opportunities are good when certain things come up, certain questions come up, or like Sister Vanessa, put too many question marks in there, because a lot of times we don't know that that's not appropriate. We don't know, that sometimes we trigger the worst in each other by doing certain things, and we don't know how to trigger the best in each other. No one has taught us that, and partly because we don't know how to trigger the best in ourselves. We don't know how to stimulate ourselves towards any movement. We don't know how to stimulate ourselves towards any growth. So therefore, when we start dealing with other people, we don't know how to trigger other people in the best and pull or educate the greatness out of them. And like I've said before, it's not hard. It's not hard. People will tell you, it's relationships are a lot of hard work, and it's hard because you're resistant. That's why it's hard. It's hard because you're fantasizing. Even in terms of your journey through consciousness, the hardest part is you letting go of things. But if you just let go, it's not. It's actually fun. There are some people who. There was a sister I was with many years ago. She used to love throwing my stuff out. I mean, she found so much joy, and like she would come over and clean up, right? And she would just start throwing stuff out. And then all my stuff would be missing, and she'd be like, "Doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel so much better in here?" Yeah, it feels better, but where's my knife? Everything's gone. So there is a purging. And purging is always good, but there is a detaching and a purging that really does feel good. And after a while, your journey can feel like fun. When you approach it from that perspective, and already know that in order for me to get something great, something sacrificed is gonna come. There's gonna be a great sacrifice in order for a great reward. Full Metal Alchemist taught you that. you know, but you're gonna have to sacrifice something, and 9 times out of 10, what you're sacrificing is your history, or your perception and your attachment of what you imagine your history to be. Greetings. Is there a room for a 63-year-old single woman in your organization? Absolutely. You think you're the only 63-year-old single woman in the organization? In fact, there's one in the group right now. Are you 63 now? I remember when you turned 62. She might be 62. You might got a year on it. But she'll be 63 this year. You ain't the only, you ain't the only gray head, silverback. You ain't the only silverback, right? No, no, no. We got a lot of them. But understand this: just because you're 63 and single doesn't mean that that's natural. Because you're probably just as confused as a 23-year-old who's single. And how do I know? Because you 62, 63, 64, 65-year-old single women call me all the time for direction and guidance. Because it gets worse as you get older because you can't remember anything and you don't know how to work any of the technology. So you need a covering sometimes even more than the woman who's much younger than you. So I say the same exact thing to you. It's not natural. And I understand my man might have died, and I get it all. I know your hard luck story. I've heard them all already. But there's other men. There's other men. All right. So and I know a lot of times, women, you get to that age and you think like, well, I'm done. 63 is young. Angela Bassett is 60. All right, and who wouldn't tag that? No, I shouldn't have said that. That's a problem with the live. But yeah. So no, 60 is young. In fact, 60 is usually when you first get started on your actual purpose. 60 is not old at all. My theory is that people don't age till they hit 80. Okay, they don't really. If you take care of yourself, if you're eating right, if you're getting enough rest, if you're keeping yourself out of stressful environments, if you're 60, people who you went to high school with will recognize you. Like you should still pretty much look the same. Sometimes we see people 50, 60 years old. You can't even recognize them just because they've let life kind of do a little bit too much to them. All right, so no, 60 is young, and you can still come in. You're welcome in, to apply. And just understand, like I said, it's natural for us to be together, and that doesn't mean that you'll be pressured to be with somebody, but just understand no one's going to pressure you to do the right thing because your character cannot evolve under pressure, from external pressure in terms of rules and discipline. Your character evolves in a communal setting when you make the decisions to say, this is what I'm going to be in this space, and this is how I'm going to interlock with this space. Okay, so, you know, that's not effective to do that. All right, so let me just check. What do you think? Then I'm going to let you guys enjoy your evening. Eerie Little Goddess, Ire, thank you for, or Irie, I'm sorry, I couldn't see. Irie Little Goddess, thank you for Chief for giving me a fresh new perspective on relationships and marriage. I'm here for it all. All right, cool. Well, sign up, shorty. Sign up. Um, and that goes for you men too. And you're welcome, Vanessa Saunders. Thanks again for the powerful privilege. You're absolutely welcome. And pay it forward, because you probably got some girlfriends who use too many question mark. Tell them, girl, you know what I learned today? That's wrong. Vicious said, I thoroughly enjoyed this session. All right, cool. I'm glad all of y'all enjoyed it, but you do realize this wasn't for your enjoyment. I'm giving you information on Anu and I won't. I mean, I do appreciate it. I do. But this is for those of you who are interested in being a part of what it is that we're building, and I have already laid down for. Thank you for all your efforts, Chief. I need accountability and transparency. All right. That's good. That's honest. Sister Marva, as always, great, great Chief. May you continue to break down, build up, and flow in fruitfulness in your working journey. Give thanks. I appreciate that, Mother. Because we have to, in all due respect, I can't call you Sister Marva. That's disrespectful. You have grandchildren. I had to call you Mother. Mother Marva. It sounds better anyway. Eminem. All right. Does it matter of age differences in mating and matching in relationships? Does it? Does it to you? You know, it's all dependent on what you're looking to do and what you're trying to do. I can't say that there's any definitive guideline. I can tell you what works well based on our own psychology and based on our own physicality and when people enter their prime. But you know what? Honestly, and let's just be real. You know, um, here in America, a lot of us, our mating is different. You know, sometimes we can't really go by ancient standards. You know, like I said, sometimes I talk to certain men and they're dead set on virgins. If you're not a virgin, they're not even looking in your direction. And that's sure, that's cool up into even maybe 30. But you know, if you're looking for a woman after that, then you know, it may be a little unrealistic to in America. Now, other countries, sure, but other countries, a woman's gonna be married by then anyway. You know, because if she's a virgin, she's gonna get a much higher bride price. So, you know, but so you have to look at the context of where you're at. You know, if let's say if the age difference is if you're 30 and your man is 60, if that works for you, okay, fine. It doesn't defeat the primal thing that's always supposed to be present, right? We all have a primal need and desire to create. You know, old women, old men, young women, young men. That primal nature is still there. Even though you may look at an older person and say, well, they ain't thinking about that. They thinking about it. Yeah, they thinking about it. You know, so it's really dependent on what it is that you're trying to do and what you're trying to build. Sometimes we find that women will seek out mates that they have an age advantage over because they want to take the lead. Very common. Very common when I meet a gorilla type woman who's very masculine and an Amazonian style, and I say, "How old is your mate?" And she might be 40. He's 31, 32, right? And of course, she'll say, "Well, you know, he doesn't really lead me, and he's kind of soft." Well, that's what you wanted. That's what you picked out, right? Um, then sometimes you have men who will get with younger women, or males who will get with younger women, much younger, not because they recognize, okay, between 15 and 23, she's at her mating prime. So I'm getting with this 21-year old. And plus, men, we all pretty much want women who are 21 years old at all ages. All right. That's woman is at her prime. We want young women. Period. We want young women. If you're an older woman, then there's got to be something else because you can't sexually compete with a younger woman, no matter how good you think you look. Or everybody thinks I'm young, but you're not young, and we know you're not young. Yeah, outside, but the insides is old. That's just the truth of it. Okay, so there's a different kind of wisdom and value that comes from a woman who's older, right? So an older man, he may not understand that value. So he may still just be looking at women like they're sex object. And if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. So he may go for the younger one. And then you may have a man who may say, well, I want it for a sex object, but I also want somebody who's wise enough to run my home when I'm away, who's wise enough to take all of this information that I have and synthesize it and then return it to my homestead in a way that I would want. And sometimes we find that older women are better at that than younger women. And by older, I mean 35 and up. Sometimes, they just have a certain wisdom and a certain insight about them that honestly for men it's enjoyable to be around. You enjoy building with them, whereas maybe the younger sister, she may not be that seasoned yet, you know. So it really depends on what you're looking at, you know. It depends on what you're looking at, you know. But and what you're looking to do, you know. If you're nation building and you're looking to have children, that's going to dictate one thing. If you already have children in in some places on the continent, you know, let's say if you're a woman who's 30, 40, 50, and you already have a bunch of children, you know, usually it's only an older man who would bring you into his home. Or if a man is blind or he's lame or something like that, you know, so, and that's not a knock against you, you know, well, it is a knock against you. Let me keep it real. It's a knock against you. There is a devaluing to some degree. And we don't have to play around with that one. That's just the truth of it. I get clients who come to me sometimes. I got 5 children by 4 different men, but I'm looking for a king. Kings don't share baby mothers. That's just what it is. Kings do not share baby. I'm not sharing a baby mama. I'm not looking at another man and saying, yeah, you had, this ain't the color purple. You had a your way, I had a mine. We're not doing that. No. I mean, we might share the womb, but well, not even the womb. We might share the vagina. We're not going to share the womb. All right. Um, I know that's hard stuff maybe for some of you to hear, but it doesn't mean that you can't still have a king in your life. It may mean that maybe you're not going to have children with this man. You've had your children already and so forth. So every situation is different. I know I gave a lot of answers, but because I'm answering a lot of people at one time, and I know that because I know the other questions that people have, and that comes up sometimes. But honestly, the greatest thing in terms of your mating choices, do you have people who have been tried? Are they tried and proven? That's what you really want to look for. You know, before you look at like age and things like that, are they ready? Are they ready for what the creator and what the universe and what the Ori is about to put in front of them? Or are they going to crack and fold? And do they have a sense of connectedness to the culture that you decided that you also want to be a part of? And they been tried and proven by said culture, right? Like, I could be talking all of this stuff, right? I could be this and that and that and that. And then you might see me in a situation where it gets heavy and I just become something different. No, no, don't call me chief. Don't call me chief. You know, call me Clarence. Something and just, I all of that indigenous talk, all that's gone now, huh? You know, so you want to make sure that you're getting with people who have been tried and who have been proven. And that's why again, our new men and our new women is so important because you have people who are coming up under a society, under a social structure that if you say, if a sister comes to me and say, or another brother and says, hey chief, I'm open to someone, to being a part of someone's household, um, and I see this guy over here, I like him, I think we could be compatible, and and I can say, well, yeah, he's going through this, that, and that. He's initiated. He's this and that. Like he's been tried and proven. Maybe he hit rock bottom. He had to file for bankruptcy a couple of years ago and build himself back up. Maybe he's been in the courts fighting for his children. Maybe he's got other children. Whatever it is, but the key is you want to know that someone has been tried and they've been proven by the culture that they say that they're a part of. Not just tried and proven, but tried and proven by that particular culture. That's where you'll find um, your highest levels of compatibility, but also you have to have been tried as well. So I'll leave you with that. And there's a lot more to that, but you know, there's a lot more to that. Actually, but I'm trying not to be here too much longer. All night, I should say. All right. Yeah, all right. Peace, Minister Bliss. You coming on at in the final hour though, my sister. You coming on in the final hour. Alderay says we need to go back to old fashioned respect. Yeah, in some instances, we do. We do. But you know what? We also need to establish a new respect because we're new people, right? Remember, the gods evolve, and respect means to see God. So I have to see you differently to respect you properly in modern context. And you have to see me differently to respect me because old fashioned is what got us here. That's what got us here. Grandma, grandpa, the ones we celebrate. See, back in their time, if it was so great what they were doing, we wouldn't be in the situation that we are. Okay, so some of that stuff was off too. Some of that stuff was off too, you know. So we have an opportunity now to synthesize some of that. That's the whole science of the Sankofa, which you'll see, when you look at the Anu logo for Anu Life Global Ministries. You see that bird looking backwards with the egg in its mouth, going forward. Well, the egg is like our sacred Odu, Ofun Meji. It's everything. It's life and death in one place. It's the womb and the tomb. but it's our ability. The egg also represents the energy of hydrogen. Hydrogen is considered the God element. So it presents our opportunity now to create the world as we see it. You see? So I can respect you now. You can redefine now through your reformation, and then I can respect you with a new matrix of respect. But I got to take some time to see you. I got to see you, Alderay. I got to learn you. I got to observe you. And even in our mating experiences, a lot of times we don't observe enough. We're too close. And you'd be surprised how much you can observe from a distance and learn. You know, you can a lot of times get a lot more information out of observation than a question. Just lean back and observe, from a distance and see how a person really responds to certain things. Leah Michelle says, I have so many other questions. Yeah, me too. I'll have to do a reading soon. It'll be my third one. Well, you do what you got to do. It's cool. But this was more so about I knew women, I knew men, and I wanted to just explain why. And not only why, but some of the mentality that goes behind it. And again, it's not for everyone. So I don't want you guys to think that um, I'm saying everybody needs to be this way, because this is my vibe. This is my nation. I don't like to use the words tribe, because tribe comes from tribulation. But we have gone through tribulation. So, I could almost say that. This is our tribe. This is my vibe. And when I say my, I'm saying I'm the one who set up the radio station, right? Doesn't mean I'm the leader, but I'm the first one to say, okay, I'm gonna tune in and I'm gonna create this signal and let's see who answers the call. So now if I'm creating a certain signal and I'm broadcasting that, then people who are looking to tune into that signal, or if that's melodious to their ear, or they're already on that frequency, those are the ones that are gonna come. The other ones are gonna be like, that man's crazy. And how's he gonna be telling somebody they use too many question marks? He's arrogant. He's conceited. He's one of those male chauvinists. And he's telling people that they shouldn't be single and they gotta have a man and this and that. And like, I'm nothing but. I know everything that gets said, and I know the stupidity that we're used to living under and the dysfunction that we're used to living under, and how many people would prefer to keep it stupid and dysfunctional. So when you start bringing things that we all know innately are the solution, I know how that chip activates in you. And the chip says, "Oh, don't let them talk like that." No, you know. All right. Cruz, peace, Cruz, my Bahamian brother. Blessed love to all in the space. Glorified for the share. How we see ourselves should also be generated within our highest mythology. Yep. As we're generating that mythology. Um, James Wright, you have to be single. I don't know what you're asking. Well, I don't know what you're even saying. Um, Alderay, they creating lies and adding to the deterioration. I want more for myself and daughter. Yeah. All right, cool. So I'm gonna leave you all to it. And again, if you want to sign up, anulifeglobal.org. ANULIFEGLOBAL.org. Did I get everything? I feel like I gotta do like a killer to be. I gotta hit my leg. ANULIFEGLOBAL.org. If I don't hit my leg like a killer to be, I might miss some letters in there. All right. So yeah. So for those of you who want to sign up, just go there, and you'll see the links on the top for our new men and our new women. And like I said, um, we'll be accepting applications ongoing, but we'll be reviewing up until this Sunday. That'll be, and then we're gonna close it then for this cohort. And then if you still, you can still put your application in, because some of the people who we're bringing in for this cohort, they applied like maybe a day or two after we closed things down for the last one. So they've been waiting since last year. So if you don't make it in this one, don't sweat it. Can we work on a retreat to the Bahamas? We were working on that, brother. We've been waiting to hear back from you. All right, that's a whole nother thing, though. All right. Okay, James Wright, you said to be I knew, is it just for single ones? No, I prefer if you're not single. Um, being an Anu has nothing to do with single or married anything, you know. But what I'm saying is that within our structure, we do advocate for unions. We do advocate for family. That's what I was saying. If you're single, then understand that the movement should be towards not being single and being conjoined, with the complementary energy. And if you are in a marital situation, of course, it's about creating more unity, more alignment, and more harmony within your family so that you can be more productive, not only to this experience, but also to the experience, just in terms of your being more civic minded and your experience in society. So, no, you don't have to be single. If you are, it's okay to apply. All right. But going forward, we have to address that. That's a real thing. I want you guys to understand that. That's a real thing. Um, there may be some frustration because, like I said, and I'm gonna put it out there again. Um, let's just take men for instance. Within this space, um, you know, heterosexual men represent the alpha form. Not all heterosexual men, but heterosexual men who have been managing a homestead. That represents, the pinnacle. Now, does that mean if you're not a heterosexual man, you can't come? No, it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that at all. But it means that that's where the pinnacle is. Okay. Does it mean that if you don't have a family or homestead, you can't come? No, it doesn't mean that. But we're just speaking about what we're aiming and striving towards. Okay. So, and same thing for a woman. Um, if you can have a child, then we would want you to have a child. Not saying that bring us the babies, but I'm saying like if you would desire to have a child, you don't have a child, then we have to address why hasn't that happened. And it's not just about a child because a lot of times we look at that before we look at the family. Do you have a man? Why don't you have a man? Okay, let's start working on that. It could be something that's going on with you, which it probably is, but it could also be something that's going on. We already know what's going on outside of you. So we have to look at it holistically, all right? And that's for men too. Some of you men don't have women because you're not credible and you're not moving like a man, so you're not attractive, you know. All right, I saw a question. Chief, what are your thoughts on polygamy and how does it affect us in Anu? Well, polygamy encompasses several things. I don't want to play semantics with you, but of course, polygamy deals with polygyny, polyamory, and polyandry. So I don't advocate polyamory, and I don't advocate polyandry. Uh, Polygyny means multiple marriage, but multiple marriage where you have one man married to multiple women. I'm completely cool and fine with that. Um, but in general senses, polygamy, am I a polygamy advocate? No. Um, Now, do I have multiple women and concubine? Yes. Now, why don't I call myself a polygamist? Because I'm not married. I've removed myself out of the paradigm of what many of you conceptualize as marriage. Jim means marriage. Jim. So when you have polygamy or polygamy, it means multiple marriage, right? So just from the word value itself, I don't deal with marriage, right? Now you said, how does it affect us in our new? I don't know what you're asking. Like, are you asking, do I expect you all to be polygamous or something like that? No. If you're a polygamist, is it a problem in our new? No. Um, there are different forms of marriage. There are different forms of relationships, and depending on again what you're trying to accomplish, certain things will work for you and certain things won't. But also depending on, see, that's where the self-awareness comes in. You have to know your nature. You have to know what brings you forward and what doesn't. Now, is polygyny superior to monogamy? Hell yeah. Absolutely. Hell yeah. It's a superior form of marriage. Does it make you a superior person? Hell yeah. So for those who come with the, well, I'm a jealous person, so I can't, that's that needs to be addressed. Even if you weren't in a plural relationship, you shouldn't be walking around jealous. No. Jealousy comes from a sense of ownership. You think you own somebody. We already came out of that. We don't want to go back into that. So, yeah, to answer your question somewhat, how does it affect you? How does it affect you? Marriage is marriage. It's just different forms of marriage. Family is family. It's just different forms of family. Um, but in this system, do I teach and do I teach polygyny and polygamy? Not unless it's asked. No, I don't encourage all the men to go get 5 wives or anything like that, because some men have 30, 40 years of bad programming, and it takes a long time to unravel and detangle that. And by the time they end up detangling all of that, they may not really have what it takes to be polygynous. A polygynous man is a very dynamic, strong, intelligent, and accomplished individual. It's not for the average. And some of us are so damaged and so hurt from our past experiences that we have a lot of work to do just to reach ground zero again. So it's not something that I would put pressure on anyone to do. I don't think that's. Matter of fact, I know that's not the right thing to do. Okay. Cruz, I apologize for what I did not to align. Should I email a message? We'll get back to it another time. All right, because I don't want to get distracted. How to pick the right name based on my birthday. Cruz, regarding polygamy, it's surprising how much unofficial scenarios exist in the islands, especially through households where the men are. Yeah, well, Caribbean culture is polygamous, it's not monogamous. You know, but again, everyone has to be respected and honored. That's the most important thing. And we go deeper into that in the actual groups. I don't want to share a lot of that on YouTube like this, because then it becomes a polygamy talk, and I stay away from those polygamy talks. Um, there's just too many people out here who don't know what they're talking about, don't know what they're doing, and too many people have an opinion on something they shouldn't have an opinion on. So I really don't like to talk about like polygamy too much out in the open. Um, but it's not something to hide. But sometimes the comments and the conversations can become very stupid. Well, if he can have more than one, can I? Why can't I have more than one? And I'm so far beyond those type of stupid statements. Can you take care of more than one wife? Can you afford more than stupid stuff? So to keep it from that gutter ignorance, I just tend not to talk about it that much unless I'm asked. Okay, I saw one more question and I'm gonna go. Why do you rather be coached by a woman rather than? Okay, I guess you're talking to the sister. Um, all right, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna head on out of here, and it's been like almost 2.5 hours. But again, oh, every time I say I'm gonna go, here y'all come. So Vicious says, so it's acceptable for a woman to have more than husbands, cause I see women leaning towards this ideas lately. That's why I'm asking. So is it acceptable for a woman to have more? I guess you're saying more than one husband, because I see women leaning towards this idea lately. Acceptable to who? I can't say what's acceptable to a woman is not what's not acceptable to a woman. I wouldn't even say what's acceptable to a man and what's not acceptable to a man, because that's when you start indoctrinating people back into a religion. How can I'm not the vagina police. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your vagina, and I'm not a penis police. I'm not going to say, "Oh, be sticking your penis in there." But no, that has nothing to do with me. So I can say for what I'm building over here, this is what we do. Now, acceptable by whose standards? For a woman to have more than one man. A lot of women already have more than one man. You know what I mean? Like some of our mothers was, screwing around and whatever. So it's not any person's place to say that. And I know a lot of people will. You could go on anywhere right now and ask that question. Everybody has an opinion. But I'm going to tell you the truth of it. It's not my place to tell you how you should govern yourself and your love affairs. and it's not your place to tell me how I should govern myself. Now, if you're inside of my culture, inside of my community, then that's different. But to make a general statement for women, like it's not acceptable, who's accepting it? If a woman can accept 5 penises, then I guess it is acceptable because she was able to accept it. So how can I stop her from doing that? Why would I want to stop her from doing that? What does it got to do with me? You know? So, and that goes for, before you go there, anybody should, if you can, you be pro black and be with a white woman or a white man? Can you? Everybody's different. You know? Um, can you be pro black and be gay? Can you? Everybody's different. Right? Now, within my fold and within my culture, I already told you what the pinnacle is. Heterosexual men. This is a patriarchy, right? That doesn't mean I'm going to look at someone else's community or someone else's culture and say that's acceptable. It's accept or unacceptable. It's, I read that earlier. Righteousness is based on your relevant context. So what the right thing to do is based on context. It's not based on this universal idea. That's religion. When we start talking about, well, this is God. God said this in this book, and we supposed to do this, and everybody's supposed to do this, and if you don't do this, then you did. That's when you start talking about that acceptable versus unacceptable. That's not what this is. I am from London. You will be coming here. Marva. Is that a Morvia? I thought you were someone else. Yes, I actually will be coming here. I think this month I'll be coming to London. Okay, I'm just seeing if there's any more questions. Antonio, give thanks for the info and the wisdom, Chief. It helps to define and clarify what it means to be a part of this culture. Definitely going to hit the 14 keys again. Okay, good. Yeah, and just to reiterate, man, I'm not speaking against what anybody else does. Okay, I'm speaking about Anu, those who want to join what we're doing, be a part of this, grow with us, evolve with us. These are some of the perspectives that we deal with, and they're not up for debate. They're not up for debate. Plain and simple. So if you like it, come on, be with us. Be over here. If you don't. It's all good. There's more than one community on the planet, and it's supposed to be that way. There's more than one people. Someone asked me a question earlier about mating and said, "Is it ever acceptable for a woman to chase a man?" And she was saying, because I'm always told that men are the hunters and they're supposed to. It depends on the people. Every people is different. Even when you go throughout the continent, you have some places where the women choose the men, and the men have to present themselves to be chosen. Then you have other places where the man goes and he does the knocking ceremony, and he say, "I want to take your daughter." Different things for different people, but you can't condemn or judge based on your perceptual awareness, because that's very ignorant, and the soul doesn't urge that. The soul is non-judgmental. All right. So okay, Minister Bliss, and all you other beautiful people, come on, y'all, with this last minute stuff, man. Especially you, Gloria. You know better now. I ain't gonna get on you. My daughter needs a mate? Question mark. She will be 21, and 21-year-olds in our new, Chief, are any 20. Yeah, there's 21-year-olds in our new. There's 16-year-olds in our new. Yeah, I got a interesting mix of men, women, and doesn't your daughter already have a boyfriend? What are you doing? But here, let me just give you this. So Gloria, you just asked, and this will be my last one. My daughter's 21. My daughter needs a mate? Question mark. Why wouldn't she need a mate? Is she covered? And I'm trying not to sit, because I spoke to your daughter recently, and I know your business. So I'm trying to say this in a way where I'm not sharing your business. Okay? Women always need a man. Period. Now, whether it's their father or their husband, they always need a man. Notice I said husband. Because husband comes from house bond. So he's over the house. Your boyfriend usually is not over the house. So you may have a boyfriend, you may say have a mate, but is he really controlling the finances of the house, the economy of the house, the security of the house, the protection of the house, or does he just come by and eat hot pockets and give you some weed and you have sex and then he leaves? So that's not being covered just because you have a guy in your life. Having someone, the house bond or the husband is the master of the house. Do you have a master of your house? If not, then you're uncovered, right? So I don't want to say too much. I'm just going to say that. And 21, she's in her prime. Like she's about to not be in her prime, just in a couple of years, you know. So again, we go sometimes by this society here and we say, well, someone's not grown to their 18, but they're still a baby at 18. At 21, they're still a baby. And then we don't start looking at our children like they're adults until they're like maybe 27, 28. Then we might say, like, it's okay for them to have a boyfriend or okay to have a girlfriend. But meanwhile, in more functional societies, at 21, she might be married already with one baby or just finishing school and engaged and about to get married, you know. So yeah, we're supposed to be together. All right. I'm just going to say it as simple as I possibly can. 21 is not as young as y'all think it is for women. 21, and you ask me, should my son be married at 21? No, he shouldn't be married at 21. He's not even in his prime yet. He doesn't even have anything to really give a woman. He doesn't have any wisdom yet. He doesn't have anything. But what does she have at 21? She's at a prime fertility. She's at a prime receptivity. She's most flexible. So that's her prime. See, our primes are different because of what we're supposed to provide to the family and the community. You see, so our primes are not the same. All right. I'm just gonna say that. I don't want to say too much. All right. Yeah, I know he's not an Anu man, but what you gonna do? You gonna tell him to leave him? And come on, Gloria, what you gonna do? She's not gonna leave him. Leah Michelle, is being bisexual prohibited in Anu in becoming an Anu woman? What can I prohibit? Can I tell you to stop licking women's vaginas and behind holes? I can't tell you to stop doing that. How can I prohibit it? This is not a religion. I can tell you the consequences for doing certain things. I can tell you the advantages for doing certain things. I can give you a cultural structure and give you a path in which you can go. Now, if you're telling me you're bisexual, Leah Michelle, and I already know you're bisexual, I know there's a series of issues that already comes with that. I already know that from my years of doing this and because I know how nature, chemistry in the body works. Okay? So I know if you're bisexual, I already know the level of confusion you're dealing with. I know the level of confusion. Yeah, I said confusion. So you say I'm confused? Yeah, you are. It's all right. We got gay men in the chat right now. All right. So I already know, what the relationship was like with your father, if there was one. I already know the relationship like with your mother, because most of you women who like women, you have serious mommy issues, right? So of course you might put in the chat, now I don't have none of that, but you lying, right? So there's already certain things that are present. I already know that. Now, my job is not to say, well, if you're this sick, you can be with us. But if you're this sick, you got to go somewhere else. That's stupid. And I know a lot of people do that. I know. And they say, well, this person is living like this or married to this type of person or has this sex style. I won't even bring them in my shrine because the spirits in my shrine won't even come out. That's just the stupid make believe stuff. If you're here to rebalance, rebalance. Period. It doesn't matter if the person is trying to stop smoking, they got a smoking issue, or if they're a drug addict. Either way, your job is still the same. It doesn't matter because I got guys who come to me and they're sex fiends. They just screw everything. Is that any more, any less acceptable than the girl who's gender confused and doesn't understand where she should be and thinks that fluidity is some form of, or gender fluidity is some form of sexual evolution. What's the difference? There is none. You see, so you're not going to hear prohibit come out of my mouth? Does that prohibit me from being an Anu woman? Does it? When you learn the tenets and the ideas of what an Anu woman is, do you think you could meet those? Do you think you can make? Can you get there? Does that mean that some things have to stop? Yeah, yeah, some things have to stop. All right. Am I saying that you got to stop playing around with women? I'm just saying some things will have to stop, right? And we all have those things. Everybody has something that they have to give up. Everybody. When you're making a trip from here to here, you got to pay that toll at the bridge, that troll at the bridge. You got to pay them something. There's going to be something that you're going to leave behind, you know? When I got into doing this work and started really speaking publicly and becoming known and stuff like that, I couldn't interact with people, my friends even, the way I did before because I had to stay distant in order to maintain their respect. I couldn't interact with girls the same way because, especially because I started doing this when I was very young, and I couldn't interact with girls the same way because of the lifestyle I was living in terms of girls. Um, it would be hard for them to reconcile. Well, this is the guy who was just teaching all this stuff and doing all this community work, and he just dumped me or whatever, or just treated me like nothing, you know. So I had to sacrifice some things. Well, I can't be that and this, or I can't be that with these girls, and So I'm just giving you examples, but we always have to give up something, and we're always going to gain something. But are you gonna hear me say you gotta give up this and you got no? You ain't gonna hear that out of my mouth. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna make it that easy for you. I'm not gonna make it that easy for you, my sister. No, you know. But I would say that if you're calling yourself bisexual, define those things. Don't just do things because they feel a certain way, you know, or because society tells you it's acceptable. What is it to be bisexual? Because that term is very sneaky. Bi just means dual and sex. So dual sex, what the hell does that mean? Just like homosexual, same sex. What the hell does that mean? Very sneaky. Very sneaky, right? So, understand if you have an attraction, a same sex sexual attraction, and again, that's even tricky because two women can't have sex together. You can only masturbate each other. Two men can't have sex. They can only masturbate each other, right? So very tricky terms. So whatever you're going to involve yourself in, make sure that you make an academic investment in it as well. That's what I would urge you, all right? And then I bet you'll be able to answer some of those questions yourself. I promise you. Renata, I'm going to leave out with you, Renata. To those who haven't had a chance to read Solutions for Dysfunctional Families, I highly recommend it. It helped me to answer questions and gave me things to reflect on. Also, pick up 14 Keys. Absolutely. Absolutely. Give thanks. All right, you all. So you have the information. You have to this Sunday, but even if you put it in after the Sunday, we still will review it. But for this particular cohort, we're gonna, we're gonna finish processing applications up until this Sunday, whatever day that is. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. But whatever day this Sunday is, this is a live, so you can just count from now. Today is, I think, the 18th of March. Around there. 18-ish. It's the 18-ish of March. All right. And, willfully, I'll see some of you inside of the group with us. You can get with us and you can get more information, more growth, more experiences, and just understand it's not a online phone call thing. We will be in your face at some point. We will be in your face. We are going to break bread and eat a meal together at some point. We will go hiking together at some point. We will camp out at some point. We will build schools at some point together physically. So you can't hide behind your keyboard forever. All right. So that has been enough. All right. And you're all very welcome. Everybody who's saying thank you. And like I said, I earnestly will that you enjoy your evening and you've gotten the information that you need. All right. Peace to all of you. Be well.